There is no better way to start a new series than with some dramatic music. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Intercontinental GT Challenge Esports Series 2024. And I will be one of your hosts / commentators / voice for radio, Luke Crane. I'm joined by Lewis McGlade. Lewis, how you doing, mate? You all good?
Yeah, all good, all good. Happy to be back. Obviously, I missed quite a bit of last season, but I did pay attention, seeing what was happening. Some great racing, expecting very much the same thing here this season. Obviously, a great way to kick it off with just a nice little 3-hour race. It's basically a sprint with these drivers, isn't it?
It certainly is, and I would say Suzuka is probably one of the better race circuits for racing. So yeah, we should have an absolute spectacle on show for you. This is a championship, though, ladies and gentlemen, that has 6 rounds. Very quickly, I'll go through what the series will endure for you. We've got 3 hours of Suzuka today. Then on the 22nd of June, we've got a 24 hours of Spa, which is special points. We'll go through the points very shortly as well. We've then got 8 hours of Indianapolis. We then have 3 hours of Spielberg, the 6th of July for Indianapolis. We then have the 20th of July for Spielberg. Then we head to Monza on the 14th of September. I've got to mention the Temple of Speed, or otherwise George Morgan will be furious. He loves saying that. Then we have the 24 hours of the Nürburgring on the 28th of September to crown our champion for 2024. Which one out of those 6 sticks out for you then, Lewis?
Do you know what? I actually think this one of all of them, it is here. I mean, I'm quite interested to do Spielberg as well. I do like a little bit of Austria. The 2 24-hour races, that just feels right to have a couple of 24-hour races. Obviously, I know a lot of drivers will be aiming for Spa, particularly because it is effectively the crown jewel of this championship. But for me, I always quite like Suzuka. I really got along well with the circuit. There's a good vibe around here, a good flow to it. Even in a GT3 car, and obviously, you want to kick off the season in the best way possible, and that is with a pole position and a victory. Pole position's already sorted, so now we're just talking about the W's.
We certainly are, and well, we already do have a championship leader because we had a super pole yesterday, and it was indeed Tobias Pfeffer for Mercedes-AMG Esports Team MSI, who managed to get the 5 points and lead the championship. The top 5 from super pole do indeed get themselves points, 5 down to 1 point, and I think we've got a cheeky little video to show you here of that super pole lap. So Lewis, take it away.
Yep, certainly so, around this fantastic Suzuka circuit. Down the hill, really quite steep actually, surprisingly so, down into the first corner. Getting onto the brakes, flicking it in through the right-hander and continuing to trail brake all the way through into turn 2. Hook it in for a slightly late apex with a run, then climbing up the hill now, of course, into the S's. 3, 4, 5, 6, and up towards 7. We go left, we go right, flick it back over to the left again before quite a long right-hander, deceptively long as we all know around here. You've got to watch the car washing away from the apex of the first bit, keep bringing it back to it over to the right hand side as you flick it up and over the crest at Dunlop. Don't go too far out wide here. It's so easy to dip 2 wheels in that grass and it'll pull you straight into the gravel trap and potentially the wall. Into the infamous Degners over the curb on the right-hand side, heavy onto the brakes as we head down the hill before you clip that second apex at T9. Up the hill once more towards the hairpin as we went under the bridge there where 130 are. We'll be coming across that one a little bit later on into the short braking zone of the hairpin. Looks like a great overtaking opportunity because of how steep it is uphill. You've got to watch out. Braking zone's really short in there. Entices the odd dive, but sometimes maybe a little bit too much. Through 12 and then up towards the spoon curve. 2 apexes at 13 and 14. Fantastic corner once you get it right. But you've got to be patient around here. Get on the brakes, lift it off, let the car rest for a second, then get on the brakes once more, flick it back into the left-hander, and then kick it out over the exit curve. Watch out for a bit of understeer through there. It feels like it should oversteer, but it actually understeers typically more so on the exit of the corner. It can push you out into that gravel trap. Now we head up to 130R. This is the fun bit of the track. Full commitment going through there. Brave drive from Pfeffer, flicking it through the left hand and then heavily onto the brakes, heading down into the Casio triangle, the final complex of corners on the racetrack, through the right-hander and down the hill to end the lap. It was solid, it was clean, it was absolutely perfect, and just what they needed to go and grab pole position for the first round of the Championship League.
I'll tell you what, something that was really unique with that lap is that it was very much under control. It didn't look like at any point he was forcing any issues there, which normally in qualifying you see that they're just leaving everything out there on the table, and if they sort of invalidate the lap, they invalidate the lap because there's only 5 teams out there, right? So that was, very cool, calm and collected, and that will be your pole sitters then. So it will be Mercedes AMG Esports Team MSI, and you will recognise the names. They used to represent Unicorns of Love. Now they're partnered with Ren Welton and Mercedes AMG. So yeah, there's lots of names that we're going to see today. You're going to be like, oh, they used to race for Ferrari, like Jordan Sherritt. He's now at 255 competition. He's racing in an Aston Martin now, which is mind-blowing. We always put Jordan Sherritt in a Ferrari now. But it is Tobias Gronewold, Tobias Pfeffer, and Nicholas Huben. I think he might be changing his name to Tobias after today.
Yeah, why not make it a triple T in that car? No, I think, like I said, there's always chops and changes outside of the world of sim racing. So sometimes when you're staring at it, you're like, well, wait a second, where have all these people come from? Didn't I know them from before? Sim is with the Racing Point team from last year that ended up being the silver champions. They've ended up in the pro category. David Pertollet and Castorino, they're part of the Coach Dave Academy car now in the pro category, obviously moving up into that after taking victory in the silvers. A lot of those chops and changes and a lot of those things that honestly we're going to struggle to keep up with because we're not the smartest two in the world of sim racing, unfortunately. We try.
Cheers, mate. Really appreciate me being thrown under that bus.
No worries.
But really appropriate to mention Pertollet and Castorino. Szymanski, someone who's a bit newer to me, but Castorino and Pertollet, it doesn't matter where they were in the race. There was always action around them last season, which is something I found quite hilarious. But yeah, like you said, they are now representing Coach Dave Academy. That is something that we need to mention. There will be pro and there will indeed be amateurs. They will be distinguished by different colours in the leaderboard. We'll go through that once we get on to the grid. Something else to note, there is 40,000 on the line for this championship. So there's a lot to play for the drivers.
Exactly, and at the end of the day, these drivers, whilst they might get a certain rate and a certain pay from the team, it's still relatively rare. In that sense, it's still only the higher, the real top percentage that are actually getting paid relatively to this. So everyone else is only looking out for prize money, and even then a little bit extra in the bank always helps. But for those teams where they're out here for maybe what would be a little bit of banter, a little bit of enjoyment, the fact that there is money on the line in both categories as well. It's where you really do need to see these drivers go to the absolute edge of the car, of the track, every single round. And with it being a relatively speaking short season, yes, of course, we've got 2 24-hour races, you've got an 8-hour race, and the rest of them are all threes in there. It's a relatively short season. The fact of that you don't have much time to come back from mistakes, especially in the 3-hour races, but generally even in the season, that prize money could slip through people's fingers. Even like today, they could already be on the back foot for the next part of the season.
So you think 65 hours of racing is a short season?
Relatively speaking.
Copy that. I think that's a very long season. Very quickly, we'll touch on the points. So we had a Super Bowl yesterday, which we've already discussed. So the top 5 teams got themselves 5 points. P1 got 5 points. P2 got 4, 3, 2, and 1. That was Mercedes AMG Esports by Team MSI, Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports Team, Automobile Lamborghini Esports Team, Mercedes AMG Team Williams Esports were in 4th, and ITB Racing were in 1st. Racing Prodigy champion Kamil Pawlowski, who is indeed racing in that. So we will also touch on the points whilst we get into the race, because we are now ready to get rocking and indeed rolling. So let's have a look at our grid for our first race of this season. So there we go. On pole position, we do have indeed Mercedes AMG Esports Team by MSA. On the right hand side, then we have Scuderia Ferrari. Yes, they're in a Ferrari. Automobile Lamborghini Esports Team then to the left-hand side in 3rd. We've then got Mercedes AMG Team Williams Esports in their new livery. We have ITB Racing, who've gone from blue to a nice pink this season. And then we've got Res Tech Reparto Corsa in 6th position. BMW M Team BS Plus Competition are there in 7th. 255 Competition are there on the right-hand side. But then we have McLaren Veloce, the first of 2 Veloce cars. CRT.Pro are the next car on the grid. Then we have ST Racing Esports bouncing away there, the first of our Mustangs, new car to the game. Then we have Ren Welton Esports. That is a mackerel livery. I will die on that hill. Veloce Academy then are your next car on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, we have the Mercedes AMG Esports Team HRT by Ren Welton. We then have Vincenzo Sospiri Racing, definitely butchered that one. We then have Res Tech Reparto Corsa by Miami Plast. We then have Genesis Esports by Genesis Risk and Coach Dave Academy on the right-hand side. BF Racing Esports there on the left-hand side, and they capitalise the E, fair play. Gladius Competitions on the right-hand side. Then we have Visceral Esports by Asetec Sim Sports, lots of sports in that one. And then we have the ERE Race Esport team on the right-hand side. Firefly Esports to the left-hand side. And then we have Alpha Venturi Racing on the right-hand side. They're starting in 24th. The third, actually, of the Veloce teams. Veloce Vexed there on the left-hand side. Then we have Raggioli Esports on the right. ATS Corsa Esports team on the left and Team Nitro. That is a very cool name, straight from CTR Racing. Williams Esport Academy then are your next car there with the yellow on the car. Then we have JP Motorsports to the right. Brabham Motorsport to your left-hand side, and then Drive Just Boys and Sim Magic. A nice collaboration there between the two of them. Visceral Esports by Asetec Sim Sports. Second car then on the left-hand side. And we have an Axel Sports to the right-hand side. Brabham Motorsport. They've gone for the nice blue livery this time round. Absolute Res Tech by Asalith. Mayuma Plast on the right-hand side. The only Porsche, I think, on the grid. Then we have our low-fuel motorsport car on the left-hand side. And then we have Genesis Esports, the third of those cars, on the right-hand side. Zoom Racing, Amamentario on the left, and then we have Genesis Esports Academy on the right. Absolute Res Tech by Asalith Camus. We have at the third from last car, R&L Raw on the right-hand side, and Myrtle Motorsport are at the back of the grid. Lewis, save me. That was a lot of work.
That was a lot. Well done. I mean, to be fair, I respect that you didn't shy away from any of those names when it comes to the teams. You were just fully committed. I respect that. Excellent look at our grid there. Excellent liveries out on there. I mean, I'm definitely keep my eye on a few of them. I'm liking the looks of some of the cars. I think you're absolutely right. Porsches wise, we've only really got a couple, and they're both towards the rear end of the field. So maybe Porsche's not the ideal car for this championship. Only a single Honda NSX as well, from what I can see, which is right the way at the back.
That was the OP car last season as well.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, but they do have a BOP within the championship, so it's kind of the fact we were speaking before this, Lewis. There are 6 different cars in the front top 7 for different manufacturers, so the BOP seems to be very, very good indeed.
And we get our first look at the Mustang, which I haven't seen in ACC. I've not driven it yet, but I do like taking a look at it. I think it looks fantastic, which as someone who was critical of the Mustang when it was first announced as a GT3 car, because I'm like, that's just not a GT3 car, I'm now okay with it. I think it looks great.
It certainly does, but it'll be interesting to see what it's like when it turns around corners. American cars not known for that too, especially right-handers, but I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine, and we've got a couple near the sharp end of the grid then. So we're on board then with Moaning, currently in 11th position in the number 28, and there we go. Now we can actually have a look at the numbers. So if they've got a white background behind the number, that means they are from the Pro Series. If they have a silver number, that means they are from the AM Series. So what that means is if right now Ruggiero was to finish in 5th position, but the lead AM, he would get the points for P1s. He would get 35 points in that championship, regardless of where they finish, although he's just disappeared from 5th and he's dropped all the way down. Okay, we'll figure that out in a minute. So basically, it doesn't matter where you finish if you're an AM, as long as you're in ahead of everybody else in your class, you will get the P1 points. And for the pros, yeah, it's simple, just go out there and win. Even if a AM finishes in P1 overall in this race and you finish P2, as a pro driver, you will still get the win for your class. So that is how it works.
Yeah. So you're effectively, we've got 2 effectively completely separate races going on, but you're involved with each other's races. It happened quite a lot last season where you'd have a silver driver or a silver team kind of in a battle with a few of the pros, but there's actually nothing they can gain. That they could, like, and that's not like, we're sat there being a little bit coy with it. Oh, there's not much for them to gain. It's like, no, there is actually nothing for them to gain in that position apart from ego, which, let's be honest, there's a few out there. So we'll have to take a wait on that one. But yeah, again, that's going to be a tactical thing. The silver teams, they're going to be focused very much on each other. So I would expect, like, there was Burnt that was also behind a couple of silver drivers there. I would suspect should probably be able to get past those silver drivers pretty quickly with Leon Burn. So because I just don't see them fighting. The tower on the left, ignore it. It's not correct. It will hopefully be correct once the race starts. But that's what led you astray, and understandably so.
Yeah, it certainly has done. But yeah, it will get itself figured out sooner rather than later. So it is all good indeed. So heading now down towards Spoon Curve for the final time before we go green in the Series, the first race of the 2024 championship here, the Intercontinental GT Challenge Esports Series. Last season was, well, it's frantic. It was battle between Williams, Unicorns of Love for the most part. We had an incredible AM battle as well, or a silver battle, should we say. And I'm sure we're about to see exactly the same there. Maybe some mind games from Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports there, just nosing ahead there, just to kind of let Mercedes-AMG Esports Team MSI, I don't know, let them know that, you know, we're coming for this. We are going to go for the lead as early as possible. Right, quick predictions then, Lewis, before we head through 130R and into that final chicane.
I do think the MSI car is going to win, but I don't think it's just not going to be easy. But I just think I feel like I've got the pace, but everyone's pretty equal on this grid. I don't know. I'm just pointing that way because it's easiest. They're starting from pole. I think they're going to win.
Okay, well, I'm going to go for Mercedes-AMG Team Williams Esports. Yeah. Even though Williams, no, I'm only joking today. On everyone's side, it is all about the race here. So, Mercedes-AMG Esports Team MSI will take us away. We're heading down towards the start-finish line. It will be the second line that they will go across that will make us go green here for the Intercontinental GT Challenge Esports 2024 Series. 3 hours of Suzuka is underway in green as we head down towards turn number 1. I'll tell you what, it's actually a really good start there from Scuderia Ferrari, but the second phase is all about that Mercedes-AMG Esports team. They do get across, they do get the whole shot. Yes, that was my British rallycross coming off me there. It is P1 though for the Mercedes team. So all good as we head in towards those S's.
Yeah, I will say it's a horrific start for the rest of the field. They're all separated massively going into the first complex of corners. As you can see, Wojciech Fiala here at third position. It's fourth on the leaderboard because it crossed the line with Savini just ahead. But Wojciech Fiala for the Williams car has worked its way up, now third position, staring at the back. I thought Stutsenko might have actually led down into T1, courtesy of how split apart everyone was. Very messy down into T1. Don't know if race control take a look at it. It was just I think it's just automated and in-game stuff, but it's a little bit more rusty than I was expecting from this grid, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, Davidson, it's flashing the lights there with the Lamborghini. I'm not sure whether he's just saying hello to the Williams in front. I can assure you, they know you're there, you're bright green, or he might be a little bit unhappy with how he lost P3. But ultimately, he has lost P3, and all is good for them. We're on board now with George Boothby in the Veloce car, a multiple race winner in the SRO series. He actually won the Sprint series last year as well. He's a very accomplished driver, and also he is a Guitar Hero World Champion, which is a nice fact for people who are new to this series, as we see a bit of a mistake there from the BS Plus competition car. Might be an opportunity here. It's Gregor Schill, maybe even an opportunity for Boothby to take full advantage. We head down towards 130R.
I'll never forget interviewing Boothby saying, "Oh, what's it like driving with the pressure of having, you know, Honzik's stream with thousands of people or whatever watching?" And he was like, "You know, I've got a YouTube channel that's pretty big, right?" And I was like, "I did not know that." Yeah, he's pretty good. Also, is of course the IGTC champion of 2022 as well in the Veloce team, along with Eamon Murphy and James Baldwin. I remember that race in the wet at Spa, obviously a little while ago. But at the moment, having to settle for a position further down the order and having to settle for that 10th spot. First lap complete though, and it is still Grunewald leading.
Yeah, nice and clean start there. We're about to see a potential overtake here. That is Coach Dave Academy sending it down the inside there. And that is a position, just about gained there. I think once they sort themselves out, we're on board with Zampedri a little bit further back there. And yeah, that is a position lost, a couple of positions lost there. As the Veloce, I think that's the Vexed team, or maybe the Academy actually with the yellow, have just come through as well. So there's 3 Veloce teams. There's Vexed, there's Veloce and Veloce Academy.
Yeah,
or McLaren Veloce, sorry. Got to get that right.
Exactly, they'll be they'll be fuming at you. I mean, look, you've never irritated Veloce, Luke. Never. So why start now? I will say for Castorino, there obviously champion of the silver category last season, coming into the pro this season. Exactly what we were talking about before this race, about how the pros being involved in the silvers. That was a big move to the inside by Jordan Sherritt, and that is the move complete on Romagnoli. That was excellent stuff. What I was going to say about Castorino, though, he's got 3 silver cars ahead of him. He doesn't actually gain anything specifically from gaining those positions. There's no extra points up for it, but he must do it for the track position.
If you look up the dictionary definition of full send, you will see a video of Jordan Sherritt. And he's just proved his point once again, sending up the inside. Doesn't matter whether it's a Ferrari or an Aston Martin. He's making moves. It's a really nice move actually down into Kobayashi. Took full advantage, and Gunin not really able to to really reciprocate. And as we're on board now with Osterman, looking to try and get a move done on David Tanitsa. Runs a little bit wide on the exit of 130. It's so easy to grab too much curb there. Like, you can run over that curb and you're fine, and you can also run within the curb and you're fine. If you hit it bang on the middle, as we see Veloce make a move there on BS Competition to Boothby, has got through, and now we've got Renwelton coming through as well. Looks like we might have had a mistake there from Moaning, so he's dropping down the order. But look at the gap that's formed then to that front group. So Boothby has got a position there, but ultimately they've now lost touch with the group ahead of him by about 2 seconds.
Yeah, Moaning trying to hang around the outside in that Mustang, just dropping a little bit backwards on the race start. I'm sure he'll be moaning about the other drivers at the moment flying their way past, keeping the Renwelton car at bay though. That'll be burnt. Just remaining behind Mitchy Tausch, the next one to be knocking at the door as well. Just having to settle behind Gregor Schill though, so decent progress coming in from Boothby now up to 9th position. But just a couple of frustrations there. Obviously running second at the moment is Moaning in the silver category, and that's the more important bit now for that Mustang. That's only a couple of positions behind is the rest of the silver contingent, so can't count your chickens so far.
Yeah, Michael Tauscher on board with right now, one of the very best on ACC. Maybe we'll feel he's a little bit out of position, but then if you look who's just up ahead of him, we've got Gregor Schill, George Boothby, who again... Whoa! So there's a big check-up. There is contact there. Tauscher has got involved with I think the BS competition car. Renwelton back in. They're going to drop down, and the Renwelton car as well. And that was a big shunt. I think there's going to be some damage to that car.
Oh, I think there's going to be a penalty from race control as well. Yeah, he slapped into the back of the Renwelton car.
Big send again from Michael Tauscher. There was a send a little bit further up as well. I think Gunin was getting involved there with Romagnoli. Again, it's still not filtered. They've not gone past the timing beam, actually. So it's a little bit closer or a little bit further down the field, should I say. The BS competition car also having a bit of fun. That's Gregor Schill. So there we go. We are going to drop down now. They cross the timing beam for the end of that sector. As we see a Ford Mustang. I've got to get that into my head now, commentating on these cars, although we haven't had a Ford GT on track in GT3 for a very long time, but I'm just showing my age now.
Oh, I'll allow it. It's fine. We're both old guys, old geezers in the booth. Yeah, there's a little bit of squeezing as well. I think it was Smith that just got pushed out into the grass a little bit coming into 130R. Like I said, a bit of drama. I'm sure race control already given a few things to look at, but racing already looking pretty handy round here. Maciej Malinovski going side by side down the hill in the Veloce Vex car that's not qualified particularly well as he's trying to work his way back up the order. This is back for the race lead in that leading group though. Grunewald still leading from Senko, and then just this group behind. Do you know what? I still can't get used to Tanitsa being in a Lambo. I still can't get used to it. It's been ages.
It's only been a couple of years, so yeah, it's not been. Oh, here we go. Tobias Schur trying to send one there on Gamble. Gamble's not going to let this go easily, that's for sure. But he should have the momentum around the outside. He hasn't, as we head down towards the Degner curves. Now you've got the Mercedes just in behind there of Vassner as well, as we now head into the Degners. And the BMW does hang on. So already here on these early stages of this race, there's so much action as we actually see the Audi now come through. That's Kieran Prendergast who's going to make a move, and the Firefly team are just dropping like a stone.
I think there might have been some server problem there. Magnini was off the road. I'm not sure if that is our end or the end of the server, but we'll get you an update on that one as quick as possible. It was Grunewald leading from the at that point though. Like I said, I didn't see exactly what happened, but there was definitely a technical issue for Magnini who pulled off to one side going through the second Lesmo. But drama already on the start here of the brand new season.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm not sure whether we're going to have a restart here, whether it is an issue on our side or not. We'll get that figured out. But it didn't look like anyone was holding any punches that race there, Lewis, so far. It does sound like we might be having another restart here, or a restart, should I say. But will they have learned anything from that start? Because that was frantic. People were trying to make up positions really early. It's a 3-hour race, but it was almost like this was a 20-minute sprint race, the way most of these drivers started out.
This is what I mean. Like the 3-hour race, it's you know, from endurance side, it's much shorter than what we'd normally deal with. So that's it is always going to mean that those drivers that have qualified in poor positions will be more desperate to make their moves, and that's why we saw the issue for Mitchy Tauscher right into the rear end of Burnt in the Red Welton car. To be fair, this is where this is where things get a little bit interesting. If the race is restarted, right, so that race effectively never happened, so we restart, blah, 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 everyone's put back into positions. I don't know how it's going to work again. That's race control to deal with. Does Mitchy Tauscher still get a penalty? Even though, or if everything was reset, does he still get a penalty? Because it still happened, but now things have been reset. Like the Ren Welton car's back in position. It's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think that will be the case. I think it'll be this restart. Everyone's on a clean slate here. You're all good to go. Otherwise, the stewards will have so much work to do. I'm not sure that'll be much fun for them. It was a very, very good start, though, from the Mercedes-AMG Esports team, MSI. They got into turn one in the lead. Looked like the Scuderia Ferrari actually had a better start for the initial start of the first phase, shall I say. But the second phase, that Mercedes outfit did manage to get up into the lead into turn number one. But they kind of checked that a little bit. So there was a battle. The Mercedes-AMG team, Williams Esports, got up into third ahead of the Lamborghini. But then a gap did start to form. So the front two, the Ferrari and the Mercedes, they look very strong indeed.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we didn't see enough of that first stint because we only saw 7 minutes. We didn't see enough of it to kind of see how things are going to unfold over the stint as to whether some cars are taking out more of their tyres. Not typically something that happens, but things were calm at the front, a lot calmer than they were obviously from about 8th on back, where that was where the moves were really coming in. So I don't think we've really got enough to kind of go with. There, but I think you're absolutely right. It was a solid start from from our race to Tobias Grunewald. That's the important bit. Had pulled out a solid gap, or was holding rather about 7 or 8 tenths of a second. I don't know if this is going to be a full race restart. They might take 10 minutes off, but at that point, I'm kind of they're probably just going to reset the full 3 hours. I think it's just easier.
This is where the magic people behind the scenes get to make their decisions. This has nothing to do with us. So yeah, we just hang tight here, and we will try and figure out exactly what is going to happen. So yeah, wherever you're watching from around the world, let us know in the chat as to what is going on, where you're watching from, who you're supporting. Maybe I will pop into one of the chats. Actually, I tell you what, Lewis, if you head on, I think we're on live on YouTube, right?
Well, I am. I've got the YouTube one open,
right? And I'll get the Twitch one open, and we can have a little. We can have a little
gander.
Look at the chat, see if anybody's got anything to say while we've got this little break in play. Where are we? Are we live?
This is things I don't know if we are live on Twitch. I always know that we're live on YouTube, but then I don't pay attention to anything. So it is on Twitch. So
yeah, we are live on Twitch.
All those people watching on Twitch are like, "What's Lewis talking about?" I'm here. I'm watching.
Yeah, there we go, guys. Right, so yeah, the new server apparently is up and we're good to go. So we're nearly there and ready. Any questions in the chat? Let us know. Let us know. Get yourself involved again. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm on the Twitch chat. We've got Lewis there in the YouTube chat. We are going to have a full restart by the looks of things. So yeah, there'll be 3 hours of Suzuka very, very shortly for you. The flags are being waved there by the crowd. But yeah, should be a good one. Should be a good one.
Yeah, I've got Amaris as always tuning in from Indonesia, so that's good. Got someone from Germany, someone from Malaysia, someone from France. Sorry about that. Someone from Indonesia as well. Someone from the East Midlands. I'm really sorry about that. Goodness me.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's a huge shame. God, I hate to. Yeah, it's not good if you're in the Midlands. I'm afraid, guys.
No, certainly not the East Midlands. That's where my family's from.
Oh wow! Again, my condolences to you, Lewis. You've lost the accent most certainly. Dear. Who are we supporting then, guys? Let me know in the chat. Maybe you've just got a favourite car that you're supporting. Maybe you're a Mercedes fan. Maybe you're a Lamborghini fan. But yeah, let us know. But just to let you know, the season we are having ahead of us. We've got today, obviously, 3 hours of Suzuka. Then we head to Belgium for the 22nd of June. So 24 hours of Spa. Then we've got the 6th of July where we head to Indianapolis for 8 hours of action. And then on the 20th of July, we head to Spielberg for 3 hours of racing. Then we head to Monza again for George Morgan. The Temple of Speed, 3 hours. And then we've got 24 hours of the Nürburgring on the 28th of September. And just to clarify, any penalties that may have been investigated in the previous race are now null and void. So that They are gone. We have to completely clean slate. Right, we've got iBoard Gamer, who is supporting George Boothby. Lovely, good to see that. What else have we got? Just a red car. People are just supporting red cars. Anything else on YouTube? Anyone supporting anyone on YouTube?
Alpha Venturi Racing being supported.
Nice.
Any Ferraris and Lambos? Top. But most people are going through where they're watching from. I've got someone worse than the East Midlands.
Oh,
the West Midlands.
Oh wow, okay.
I'm so sorry. All these people, they're so nice and like just posting on where they're from, and they're just getting absolutely slammed. Sorry.
Yeah. Why would you admit to that? That's just a crazy.
I was in the West Midlands the other day, actually.
Right, we got ourselves 3 hours set on the server. We are ready to rock and indeed roll. So we are ready to go. I've got a few people in the chat going, why didn't the commentators know about this? We're commentators. Like, you expect us to know anything? Yeah, more full beer on you.
Yeah, I don't even know your name.
Exactly, Gary.
Oh dear. Lots of support for Coach Dave Academy and also any pink cars. Now, this is the beautiful thing with sim racing. We do get a fair few pink cars in sim racing, and I am all for it.
You certainly do. You like wearing pink pants as well. Right, Tobias Gronewold is on pole position. We then have, well, in second, Statsenko, but I'm not sure the names are completely updated. So we'll have to figure out exactly what that is. Savini, Fiala, Rotters, Romagnoli. So again, that will update and we'll see exactly who is out there on the track there. So Tobias Gronewold on pole position. We have 30 seconds before we take ourselves around here for a formation lap. And then it's 3 hours of racing. And hopefully we have no issues. So actually, during the formation lap, we did see a couple of names like move up to P5, didn't we? We saw, who was it that kept moving up into P5? Well, they're not even in the top 23. But yeah, so that was a telltale sign that something might have been up. So hopefully we're all good this time around. And the beauty of sim racing is you can literally just restart a server, get everyone back in, and we're good to go. It'd be a lot harder in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's one of those things. Sim racing, you can just hit the reset button, and that even goes for race control. And it's why when we've only done like 5 or 6 minutes, there's no point in trying to be like, what was the order at the end of lap 3, and try and make it like, don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Just hit the reset button. Let's try again and see where it is. Someone in chat says I'm rooting for the commentators. Oh,
Mum. Mum, my mum's watching. Love that.
From America, goodness me, is where they're watching.
Your mum, to be fair, she root for both of us still. Right. Anyway, back on to the race here. So we've got ourselves 43 cars in this race. 3 hours of racing action around Suzuka. We are now just going down towards turn number 1 as everything gets kicked off. So we've had our little warm up. We've had our little sort of fake start, if you like. Now it's up to the drivers to, who made a mistake or maybe got overtaken to rectify that. So there's lots of drivers out there that maybe fell down the order that have an opportunity to now not do that. And there's other drivers who made up loads of positions who are going to be thinking, that's not ideal having a restart. So there's going to be both sides of the coin where some people are happy and some people are unhappy. The bottom line is we are restarting and the race is going to begin after this formation.
I don't believe any teams will have gone, oh, let's switch our strategy then, in a sense of like which driver's behind the wheel. They'll just be like, look, you just stay in it. So like Gronewold or whatever, who obviously we saw in the Unicorns Love Car. Unicorns Love Car. So yeah, there you go, first one in the MSI, the team MSI Mercedes AMG car at the front of the field. Like obviously going to remain behind it. Michi Tauscher in the Unicorns Love Car. Despite those incidents, we'll still be behind that. You're absolutely right on like a couple of teams that have made a lot of progress in the early start, like the Veloce Vex team that did make up a few positions. They're a lot further down the order. They'll have to do that one again, which is just exceptionally frustrating. I actually reckon the start here is going to be a lot closer down to turn 1 because it felt like everyone was like fully asleep on the race start. So I think that's going to close up dramatically, or at least I'd hope so anyway.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. It did seem very, very relaxed is probably the best way of putting it. So I'm hoping everybody does start and gets it nice and close to start this one off, and we'll have a little bit more closer action and a bit more racing to kick things off. We're on board then with Gunin, who is starting from 10th position, the lead of the silver class. They're moaning in second position, just in behind. So a very interesting battle that they're both going to start on the, well, I'm not on the same row, but directly in front and behind each other. And you've got Fleischer, who is third from the AM class. But this is your pole sitter, Tobias Gronewold. Tobias Pfeffer was the driver that did indeed qualify on pole in the Super Pole, and then Tobias Huben, or we know him as Nicholas Huben, is your third driver for them. So we're about to kick things off then. It is the number 86 out in front. We've got the number 51 in second position, and this time round the Ferrari has decided not to go out there in front and maybe play a few mind games. It's decided to sit nice in behind and maybe be a little bit more placid.
Yeah, maybe things will be calmer. Maybe there'll be more excitement. Maybe there'll be more drama. Hopefully, this is the green flag, and we'll be going until the end of the race. If not, well, we'll see what the drama race control can fish up after that one. For Grunewald, I think it will just be copy and paste what he did in the previous race start. Take the lead down into T1, or rather, hold the lead down into Turn 1. I did message Tobias Fairfair before this race. I was saying, what should we expecting from the team? He said, I would say P1 in the end.
Right, fair enough. So you're sticking with MSI. I'm sticking with Williams Esports. Williams. But, yeah, I think they're going to do pretty well here. Can they jump David Tanitsa? Will we get the flashing of the lights from that Lamborghini in fourth position? Right, here we go then, ladies and gentle cars. We head down towards that final chicane. It is Mercedes and a Ferrari at the sharp end of your grid. It's almost like it's 2018 again, but it's not. It's 2024. Running round the final corner. We're about to see exactly the same as we saw the first time around. Remember, it will be the second line. So this will be the finish line later on, but the start line will be at the start of the grid, or the end of the grid, should I say. So Grunewald will be told by the game when he can go. Reaction times are absolutely vital here. So we are here then for round number 1 of the Intercontinental GT Challenge Esports 2024. We're about to go green light racing. We are off and we are running, and Jordan Sherritt with a drive-through. So he was out of position. Whether or not that gets cleared or not, I'm not too sure. But Sherritt not having the greatest of starts, though. Grunewald does get straight across that Senko, and David Tanitsa holds on to third. And actually, it's Fiala under pressure from Jakob Osterman. So Osterman in the McLaren looking for a P4 and has the inside line for the next corner. He does. A little bit of argy-bargy there, and the Williams team have to filter into P5, so they are the big losers from a restart. They've dropped down 2 spots from where they were last time round. Oh, the Coach Dave Academy has just been T-boned a bit further back. The front drivers have gone through cleanly, but there was some misdemeanors a bit further back though. There we go, Castorino, who we expect him to come through the pack. He's that quick. He's going to have to go right from black now.
Yeah, silver champion Castorino, like I say, right off the back of the field. Obviously, he and Pertile, the 2 drivers that have moved into the Coach Dave Academy team. That drive-through did get cleared, by the way, for Jordan Sherritt, but he has lost a position to the BS competition car. So he's down now into 8th position. Plenty of side-by-sides up the hill towards the hairpin. It is kind of the Kobayashi hairpin, even though it sort of isn't. Williams Esports Academy straight into the rear end, though.
Yeah, got very close there to the undercarriage of that car in front. Luckily, everyone's facing in the right direction, and we are all golden. As we see a Lamborghini there making a move on the BMW. We've got Prendergast just behind him, so Ottaviani was a little bit further up. Oh, sorry, a bit further behind this there in the BMW. Prendergast in the Audi, just in behind as well. And then you've got the Lamborghini of Ricci. Pisano is in 34th position as well, a bit further back. But up towards the leaders, it's another good start here. Tobias Grunewald, which you expect. He's very much used to being out on pole position and getting the first hour in a race or a long-winded race. And he's done it again. Out in the lead, beautifully done. The big surprise here, though, is Jakob Osterman. So Osterman, who actually won himself a championship I commentated on about 3 weeks ago, is looking to try and move up to 3rd spot, and they're becoming the Williams from our first race start here. Does back out, decides against it. David Tanitsa will still hold on to 3rd.
Yeah, Osterman, of course, into the breach, the ITV racing team, just trying to find some way to pass Tanitsa at the moment. But I get the feeling it might be a little bit like elbows out going on the attack for the first maybe 2, 3, 4 laps, and then things will actually calm down quite a lot until we get towards that first pit stop. That's what I kind of expect. Fuel saving, less important. They do fuel and tyres at the same time in the pit stop, so it's not like we're going to be talking about mega fuel savings throughout the race. But yeah, there'll be a little bit of strategy plays in that kind of environment, I am absolutely sure. A little bit further down the order as Kieran Prendergast is feeling an awful lot of pressure at the moment.
Yeah, well, Ruggiero just left the door open there for Elvin Smith. And Elvin Smith, who you don't need to give him a second invitation to make any kind of opportunity for himself, looked to go in there, went a little bit too deep, and he's actually now under pressure from the Ford of Seville. So Seville He's going to have to go the long way around if he's going to make this move, as we see off the circuit. Then that's the number 11. That is Ruggiero, who is off track, and he loses about 5 positions. Still battling, though, for position. We have a little bit further up the road the BMW getting involved, but now we're on board, though, with Deploy, who's looking to move up into 37th position. Pisano just up ahead.
Yeah, so a couple of looks and a lot of messiness happening back here, including, look at that, Mitchy Tauscher back even here in that Unicorn Love car. Yeah, that's gone horrendous for Tauscher.
He's got damage. His bonnet's got a big gap between where it should be and it shouldn't be.
Oh, yeah.
Big gap there. There it goes, flapping up and down. And I would actually, I'd be very surprised if they don't just bring that into the pits. I know that they will ideally want to try and stretch it for an hour, as we see Castorino looking to make some moves a little bit further down the order. And when you find yourself out of position, of course, you're going to start panicking, and you've got to try and make opportunities, but you cannot afford to get yourself a penalty at this stage of the race. You've just got to, it's a long season. As much as you say it's a short season, there's a BMW, by the way, going very slowly on the exit of the final corner. A bit further up, though, we've got Burnt for the Ren Welton team, currently in 11th spot. Statsenko has just got the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, and obviously Gunin directly ahead, the silver leader, but look at the army of silver cars directly behind that. They're all battling amongst themselves to try and work their way through into the silver lead, and Burnt's kind of in the middle of it. I am going to go back to my point just very quickly on the relatively short season, because it is, there's not that many rounds. Yes, I know the hours of racing are still very high, mostly courtesy of it being bolstered by the 2 24-hour races. But it's more the fact of, like, you take a 3-hour race like this, you have an issue like what we've seen with the number 4 car there, and he's out of it, as there's another move from Sherritt, who's gone for a spin almost. Wow, he's caught it, but he was asking for trouble there.
Yeah, he loves a send, as Jordan Sherritt, like a huge send. And yeah, there was contact. Wasn't able to get the traction on the exit, and then loses the position back once again. So Jordan Sherritt giving us some nice entertainment there with Gregor Schill. But really, they've both lost that, because they've lost that gap now to Romagnoli, who's currently in 6th position. As there's a potential opportunity at the inside, decides against it. BS Plus competition, then find themselves fighting for their lives here. But yeah, the front 6 have got away.
Yeah, certainly so. I say a little bit of checking out in the top grouping, but nothing too major. Jordan Sherritt, eyes behind. Obviously, as he's seen that move or had that attempt on the BS competition car, he obviously had a great attempt in the first portion or the first running of this race before we had the red flag, and then had to restart things. If you have to do very much the same thing, he's got Boothby sat directly behind him. And is there going to be a move from all that? Obviously, Gunins and Pedri's got his way past Burnt as well, so it does seem as though that Red Welton car is dropping backwards. Back up the 3rd position, though, David Tanitsa, currently running in the 3rd spot. It is tight for the race lead. Those 6 cars that have pulled away. Grodevold, of course, in the MSI car. Then you've got the Ferrari Statsenko, the Lamborghini of Tanitsa. You've got the ITB car there of Osterman. You've got the Williams of Fiala as well, also just keeping them in tow. It's all very tight indeed, as Romagnoli is just hanging on to the rear end of this train towards the top. Lovely bed sheet there from Tanitsa. I've always said before, if you're going to have a webcam and you're going to have your bed in the background, at least make the bed. Goodness me. Almost like applying the pressure to the car that he's been in before, although it wasn't a 296, it was definitely the 488 when he was a part of the Ferrari squad, looking to find a way past. Though I get the feeling at this point in the race, realistically, even in this top grouping, unless they've got like that guaranteed move, they'll just be sat behind, using the slipstream, playing the long game. It's less about fuel saving, it's more about just keeping out of trouble right now, which is why they're not really going for any major moves. I think the highest placed driver, Luke, that's going for a move is probably Jordan Sherritt.
Yeah, I will be completely honest. I did just go and go for a wee. Lewis had to cover for me there. I really was desperate, so that's why he was just waffling for a bit longer than you might expect. On board then with Fleischer. I didn't want them to think, why does he just keep talking? He's doing me a favour, so I appreciate it. But yeah, we've got ourselves Fleischer then, currently in 16th position. Fiala now has the fastest lap, and that is a trait of Williams Esports from last season. So a few times they qualified out of position, but they just took their time. They bedded the tyres in, and at the end of the stint, they were always faster than the teams around them. So keep an eye on that. They've got an 0.8 of a second gap to Osterman, so a manageable gap. They're not going to be overheating those tyres as well, with the the dirty air and them sliding around behind the car in front. So keep an eye out on Fiala and keep an eye out on Williams. With the front 4 being as close as they are right now, if they can keep managing a stint and being quick at the end, like it's going to be such a big benefit because these guys at the front, if they're pushing, they will be like taking candy from the baby, really.
Yeah, certainly so. And obviously, fast laps just gone the way of Osterman now, but definitely the top grouping being the fastest. They're dropping Romagnoli slightly. I think they're starting to drop Fiala just a little bit. One thing with the Williams camp, there is no Dara McCormack in action today. He is birthday boy though. He's dropping the big 2-0 down on the old age now, which is really concerning. As far as I'm aware,
can't do him anymore. He's 20.
I know. Well, actually, no, to be fair, it's actually unlocked the ability now that I can.
Okay.
It's fine. But yes, either way, the top four, very, very tight. I mean, I think Fiala's got the pace to keep up with the top four, surely.
Yeah, he's closing in, to be fair. He's gained a 10th over the last lap and a bit. So, yeah, he's fine. It is a trait from what they were doing last season. Dara will be racing later on this season, by the way, when they get to the 24 hours races. So they will be adding a couple of drivers to their roster. Of course, 3 drivers will be not enough really to do 24. I believe that most teams will have 4 or 5. So yeah, expect their rosters to change when they get into the longer ones. On board though with Osterman, who for me, last 12 months is the one driver that's really announced himself in the elite, the likes of Tanitsa, Gronewold, Statsenko, Fiala, we just mentioned Dara McCormack. They are the elites on ACC. Osterman's kind of added himself to that list now. Really is very consistent. He's always been quick, but his consistency was always really the sticking point for him, in my opinion. I'm just a commentator though. That's the reason why I'm not racing. But yeah, he is now very much an elite driver. He's got that slipstream. He's running over towards the start-finish line as we head across that line onto lap number 6. We've done 5 laps. He has got that slipstream. There is the potential opportunity. You see the Lamborghini there going very defensive, and it's a little bit out of control, a little bit of a bump to pass there. And if history, if we go by history, that will more than likely be a little penalty if he doesn't give back the position. I think he might be told by his engineer, just give back that position, and you have to learn to fight or go and fight that again. But the biggest winner there really is Fiala, who's closed in now, and Tanitsa, whose favourite button is the light flash, is getting an opportunity to flash those lights.
I think the actual biggest winner is Statsenko and Gronewold. They've pulled out now what it looks like second and a half on that aggressive move from Osterman. I mean, it was a good attempt. I get it, but it's just like you're absolutely right. Just a little bit out of control there through the second part of the move, which is what caused Tanitsa to be pushed off the circuit. There was nowhere for Tanitsa to be, and so the door was open. And Osterman went, but maybe bit a little bit too much from that. I can see race control stepping in and maybe saying you might want to flip that one back before any harsher penalty goes your way. They might sit back and go, actually, you know what, that's fair racing. Who knows? All we do know is the top 2 have now pulled away a second over the grouping behind, which could be very big for this race. Yeah, certainly will be. Again, they can sort of work together now, and if they could drive away and get a nice gap to work with for latter stages of this race and make it a 1v1, really is as simple as that. Azzy giving me some stick because I'm supporting Williams today. Well, don't tell anyone, Azzy, okay? Just keep it between ourselves. No one else is watching, so we're good. But as it stands, though, Tobias Gronewold does lead from pole position, 4 tenths clear of Statsenko. Jakob Osterman then is in 3rd, although I believe the move for 3rd may be looked at. We've then got in 4th position David Tanitsa, who, as you can see there, with his rear view, I say mirror, it's a camera, right? Is that camera or mirror? It's a very wide mirror. Incident between 225 and 789 on lap number 1, 15-second time. Wow, first penalty of the season is a 15-seconder. That is normally when you steal someone's cat kind of level of penalty, but well, there you go. That was a big one. Is that from experience that you know that? It's the Zoom Racing Armamentario card. Have you stolen a few people's cats in your time, Lee?
Yeah, I get 15-second penalties just handed out to me all the time.
Oh, damn. Damn, they do call him the Crane the Cat Stealer.
Cat burglar.
It's terrible. That's a big penalty though for the Armamentario car, the Zoom Racing Armamentario car. That are right the way down the order as well. I mean, 15 seconds. It'll be served in the pit stop, but yeah, it's not ideal for them to have kicked off the season in such a way. But it is what it is. Race control already taken a look at a couple of bits. I'm sure there's more on lap 1 for them to deal with.
Oh, I'm sure there's lots of... Well, Mitchie Tauscher ended up right down the back of the order, so I'm sure there's something to be looking at there as well. We're on board, though, with our silver leaders. Gunin, currently in the number 138. I say currently as if he's going to change numbers at some point. No, he will stay in the 138. In the top 10 overall, which is a very good result as it stands, but leading the category. So that's all that matters here. Going a little bit defensive there. I'm not sure whether he was trying to put the car off in front there of Gregor Schill, which is very difficult. Gregor Schill is one of the the more experienced campaigners on the ACC roster of drivers. Or is he going a bit defensive there because of Zampedri? Zampedri, though, in that Ford, and for the first time, we're going to get a real nice look here. And I'm wondering, I think the Ford might be very good in a straight line, as I alluded to earlier on, and not so good through the corner. So we'll see now how quick that Ford is. Is he going to close that gap as we head down towards 130R? That gap is coming down 100%. So the Ford, you see in the rear view mirror there, that's definitely a mirror, not a camera. So we sweep through the left hand of 130R. And you see the Ford just loses touch ever so slightly, not able to really keep touch there. But it's all about that exit speed now through the final chicane. Can you get the power down a little bit earlier in the car in front? It's very difficult to do so. The Concertina effect, of course, taking place. And actually, if all's said and done, Goonin has done a very good job there in that final sector, and he's got a bit of a gap to work with.
Yeah, indeed. I'll be very curious to see how the Ford is going to race compared to the rest of the GT3, because it is the Outlier is the newest one. As we'll see, the Williams Esports Academy car. Hladaki behind the wheel at the moment, starting to feel the pressure of Richie behind, looking to the inside into the first corner. That's not really going to work. Zach Sweeney keeps calling the Williams Esports Community car, so at least we'll just check that one out. Why not? So everyone really is aware. No idea why he calls it that.
Good old Sweeney. Love that lad.
Good old
bright future ahead of him is old Sweeney. He's a very good commentator. But yeah, I was just about to say, he says some silly things. Who am I? It's a big glass house with big boulders I'm throwing here. Also, that Lamborghini, if he gets bored, he can just scoop the car up in front in a minute and get him out of the way. It's like a big ramp. So you'd have to overtake round the outside or on the inside of a Lamborghini and just scoop a car out of the way. Nice.
I mean, that does sound like from experience as to how you take to the circuit in sim racing. Understood. That's fair enough. So we're keeping our eye on the Ren Velton car again. The problem here, as we were discussing a little bit earlier on, is that this is a pro driver in a sea of silver drivers, which means he's got a lot of work to do, but nothing really to gain from it specifically, like when it comes to points. But you've got to do it to get onto the rear end of Shill and actually gain something in the race. You've got to do a lot of work to get into that position, and you're putting other people's races at risk in doing so, counter to how like you normally would be, when you're racing like for overall positions and such.
No, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more with you there. It's not often you make sense, but there's one rare occasion.
Thank you.
You've managed to do so. So congratulations. And well, if anyone's going to watch Lewis over the next sort of 6 months left of this year, you're probably not going to get that moment again. So there you go. It's very rare, rarer than rocking horse poo. KO Dromo. He's supporting Moaning there. He's like, go get him, Moaning. Anyone else in the chat on Twitch? I'm watching Twitch. Lewis is watching YouTube. Let us know who you're supporting out there, and maybe you get yourself a little shout out. Through 1 and 2, we come. It's still a lead for Gronewold. We then got Gronewold. We then have Statsenko in second. Jakob Osterman, who has that fastest lap. You can see that by the number next to his name being purple, as we see a potential move happening a bit further back. And well, Bonacasi, sorry, should I say, was very much getting involved there with Fleischer. He's come through, and I think we've got Magnani, who's also made up a position there. So the Veloce Academy car having some issues here and drops down a bit further.
Did arguably get squeezed off a little bit there by Bonaccorsi, but either way, dropping back down the order to single position. Obviously, these are fights in the silver category for fifth position in that silver category. So a lot of fighting going along, but not ideal. Not ideal. Just a little bit of elbows out racing as we head back up towards the top of our entire category, of the pro category, of course. I think the only bit in YouTube chat that's more recent is the talk of a certain David Tinitz's bed sheets, which are quite nice. You missed them whilst you were out there. You popped out.
Okay. Well, hopefully we get another shot of David Tinitz's camera there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the production team. Let's have a little look at who's got the best bed sheets out there. Because that's the beauty of sim racing. We have unless it's Jack Keithley, where you get to see hilarious curtains every time you go on board with him, because he changes it all the time. I think he had his dad mid-race come through and he changed them. But he had wrestling ones one time, and then the next time I look, it's Ipswich Town curtains. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's nice. That's kind of like, you've just moved into your own house, you're still young, and you've gone to, home depot place where you're going to buy your bed sheets, and you're like, oh, what looks like a bed sheet an adult would have? Oh, that one. And as you get older, you realise, oh, maybe not. It looks more like a solar system.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I do feel most people are just sort of like just one colour bed sheet, just like whatever, that'll do. At least I am anyway. I'm not really that bothered. But I mean, look, going for a pattern, fair enough. Wow. It's not something that I thought we'd talk about on this, but alas, we will continue to talk about drivers and their bed sheets if they keep popping up on camera. So there is that as we head back to the battle for the silver lead. Of course, Bedry looking to try and get a move done, but unfortunately for him, Goonan holding on.
Yeah, absolutely there. We've got asked Aces Broadcasting what is our favourite livery today. I think we need a bit more time, really. We've got to have a real, that's a top tier discussion. That's something we can't just throw an idea out there or throw an answer out there. We've got to give that some thought. But I guess my early thoughts is probably Renwelton. They've always got a pretty nice livery, to be honest, and it does look like a mackerel in the sun. So that's my thought process. We've got people asking, what is this yapping? Well, I hate to break it to you, you're the one tuning in, so you know, it's on you. This one, you're going to get a lot of yapping. Imagine what it's like in this 3-hour race. What it's going to be like in a 24-hour race. That's going to be super fun. Right, anyway, back to what's actually happening on circuit. Sam Pedri, this is a battle for the lead in the silvers as we head then down towards Spoon Curve. Ooh, a little nibble there and forcing Goonan to run offline. Door opens up on the exit of Spoon Curve. And wow, all of a sudden the Renwelton car, which is indeed burnt, it's kind of the only pro car in a field of what, 9 silvers? Is that 9 or 10?
No,
9 silvers. No. So right now they're a bit out of position, right? And they'll be worried that they're just going to get sent to every opportunity because the race win is very much on the cards. So it's a close battle at the front for the pros. It's a very close battle indeed for the Amsterdam. The Renwelton car actually is under a bit of pressure. And well, the number 28, the Ford GT there of Moaning, slides off the circuit. That is not going to do the stint very well. I don't think he's going to lose too much time actually, ultimately, but the tyres will be hurting a little bit later in this first stint.
Yeah, I mean, someone said that it's Menning, but I'm going to go with Moaning because you can make a lot more puns out of that. So we'll figure it out. I'll hear from the man himself at some point, I'm sure. But either way, you're absolutely right about Burton just being in the middle of all of this, getting a little bit frustrated, had the Mustang get to the outside going into chicane. Burton at the moment and the Renwelton car's just got so much to lose in this. You know, one awkward penalty and you're dropped right the way down. The risk of penalties is so high because all the drivers around you are so desperate to get through because you're not for position for them. They're like, you need to jump out of the way. But you're sat there being like, I'm a pro driver and all my pro driving battles are way ahead of all this. I need to work my way past. It's a lot more messy and a lot more complicated than you'd normally think in a race where it was just 2 cars going into battle. Yeah, certainly, and like the level here is so close between these drivers. You know, one small mistake, you're going to lose multiple positions. But if you don't make a mistake, it's very difficult for anyone to overtake because of how close, in terms of pace and ability, these drivers really are. We're on board then with the Firefly livery. I tell you what, that's up there. If we're going to talk liveries, that is actually up there. I like that. Like the Firefly, very clear on the front. Like the gold and then the black. Gold and black always does well for me. But sure, then in behind Seville. Seville holding firm as it stands. They're losing a bit of touch though to Kieran Prendergast. Prendergast was under a lot of pressure earlier on in this race. Kind of found himself a bit of a gap to work with, and he's able to drive away. A penalty just flashed up there on the screen. I guess we'll get a proper prompt. We'll probably let's stick to the prompts instead of just calling them as they appear, because then we'll just be guessing as to what's happened. But we're back up to the leader, and look at Statsenko. He's been dropped here by Groenewold. I say dropped by a couple of tenths, and all of a sudden, Osterman and Tanitsa are very closely battling for that second spot. Until we get confirmation from race control, I can tell you it was 5 seconds for Seville. No idea why, but I'll at least drop that one in there. Liveries that aren't going for best livery of the day, that MSI car at the front of the field, but it could well be the fastest livery of the day because look at how quick he's pulling away. An enormous gap growing between Groenewold and Statsenko. Osterman up there. I do really quite like the ITB livery. I'm going to say, by the way, it would be the 255 for me at the moment. I quite like the look of that car that Jordan Sherritt's behind the wheel of. Something interesting and different about it, but like I say, at the front of the field, I get the feeling that Statsenko's still got the pace to be able to close back up to Groenewold, but that gap grew concerningly quickly.
It takes one mistake, doesn't it? It's as simple as that. You can lose all the time. Oh, there we go. Instant between cars. 258, 256 on lap 2. A 10-second time penalty then for car 256 for causing a collision. So that is the second penalty of the day, and they've been big ones. So setting a precedent in the series. If you're going to mess around, you're going to find out.
Yeah, indeed, it was the low-fuel motorsport car that Jonathan Seville is behind. The Absolute Res Tech by Asleth car was the one that they took, that they were involved in the incident with. That was the 258, was the absolute Res Tech by Aslith car, and Low Fuel Motorsport is 256. So those are the drivers involved in that, and Seville will be the one to pick up the penalty. As such, well, I say it's not been too heavy on the penalties. We had a couple out. We've had a few out as expected.
Well, they're probably still sorting them out. Let's be honest. Like,
that's true.
Let's not count our chickens right now. I think there might be a few more coming our way. But yeah, I don't think it's been crazy in terms of people making mistakes. Elvin Smith, is he going to? How much are you going to send it? Yes, is always the answer to this question. And actually, he's going to force a mistake there from that Lambo. He overextends there as well. And actually, I think this might be Roggiero's birthday and Christmas rolled into one, as the Ferrari has the inside. He's got one position. Can he get a second? Down towards 130R. He's got his nose just about ahead. And there's one person who's never going to be backing out of this situation. That is Elvin Smith. He's going to squeeze that Ferrari onto the apex. He's going to sweep it around the outside. He's going to use the track hand a little bit more. Ferrari comes back on. And, well, he is gaining an advantage going off the circuit there, I feel. And, again, I feel like that might be more looked at than anything else in that exchange. Although, 1-1, as the Ferrari gives Elvin Smith a bit of a nudge. And Elvin now gets involved there with the Lambo. And he's facing the wrong way. And, well, I think that could have all been avoided.
I know that's there was a lot of incidents there between the silver cars, but let's be honest, that was very amateur between that grouping, and very, very messy indeed. You had a 789 behind them. That was the Audi R8 that was in there, the Zoom Racing Armamentario car that obviously got a penalty. We just sat there watching these silver drivers just constantly taking each other out. It's very, very messy. Brad Esports coming out bottom of that, but you can't help but feel kind of like looking at it being like they had as much thrown on their plate as they were dishing out as well. Not saying that race control won't take a look at it, because they still will, but there was a lot of six of one, half dozen of the other in all that.
Elvin Smith is as quick as these guys at the front, but he has moments like that. That's the difference. Jakob Osterman was very similar in that regard about 18 months ago, maybe 12 months ago, where he would be, he is as quick, but he would get involved, and he's kind of cleaned that up. Elvin Smith just still seems to always find himself in trouble somewhere. So, yeah, something he needs to definitely work on. He's got the pace, but, yeah, found himself in a three-wide situation on the exit of the final chicane, which is not good.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it happens, though. Look, sometimes when you go three wide, you've got to accept the fact that there is the chance that you're going to be involved in a bit of a crash issue, and that's certainly what's happened for a few of them.
He was never going to back out, right? He was always going to give that his absolute all, which is great for us as commentators. I want to see that, right? But again, there's a reason why I'm talking about it and not racing, so I can't really talk too much about drivers like that. But as we come through then 130R, we are on board here with the number 23. Are we about to see, number 23, in P23, the number 996. Are we about to see a potential move? These are battling for 9th position in the silver class, and then they've got Malinowski, who will definitely feel like he's out of position in 24th right now. That's crazy, actually. Malinowski, who is, again, he's one of the top tier drivers of ACC, down in 24th. He will not be happy with that.
I said the Veloce Vex car, it didn't qualify very well. That's so they're obviously on the back foot. It was a solid effort in the initial race. Obviously, when we did only 7 minutes of racing, there was a solid working through the order from Malinowski. But then once the race has been restarted, it's kind of like, great. Now I've got to do all that again. And this is the whole problem with it being, starting from back there. Is a lot of the positions that you're making up are kind of positions that aren't really for anything in your own class. So ahead of him, he's got Gamble, he's got Smith, he's got Burnt, and then is up with the race leaders, right? That's how many pro cars he's got ahead of him. It's not many until you get to that race leading group. The problem is there's about 11 silver cars between him and the lead group that he's got to overtake without really gaining anything from it. That smells to me like there's got to be maybe a couple of strategy calls, but it's only a 3-hour race. The strategy here is very simple. Go for an hour, pit, change driver, tyres, and add fuel, go for an hour, do the same thing again, and then see the end of the race. Well
above my pay grade, Lewis, figuring out their strategy. That's for them to do. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I'll let them figure that out. That's too much work there. There's a nice little story here, by the way. P25, Alif, Mohammed Alif. So I've commentated on him in loads of series on iRacing and ACC. And actually Project Cars back in the day. He's been around for quite a while. I actually commentated in live in Vegas in 2019. So he is now at Ball State University in Indiana, and he's the captain of their sim racing team. How crazy is that? He's from the Asia Pacific region, but he's now in America captaining a university esports team. That is cool. Some story.
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I can tell you, when I was in college, never went to university. There was nothing in that kind of vein for me to deal with, because, well, sim racing's grown a lot, let's be honest, and that was a long time ago. I got sent some pictures and stuff from various sim racing stuff from 9 or 10 years ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, memories. Sim racing's been around for a long time, as here comes Sher to the inside.
Yeah, it is. Seville then with the penalty is now going to lose out to the Firefly Funhouse car as we come round then turn at number 3. Oh, they're both squeezing each other here. This is brilliant racing from the both of them. The number 77 has the slight advantage though. Seville is going to be pinched onto the apex, and well, by the time we come out of the S's, it is a delicious little bit of driving there from the number 77, and that is Sher, who's going to move up the order, and that's actually checked everyone up behind, meaning there is more action. So now we're on board with the number 44, Canapella, who is now trying to hold on from Pisano, who's in P36. So all the way through the field right now, we are seeing battles all over the show.
Yeah, and you're seeing those two absolute ResTech Biathlith cars, the two Porsches trying to work their way through. Those are the two white Porsches that you had back there, of course, basically the lone Porsches in the championship. Back up to the race leader though, and about to pass over half an hour complete in the opening race of the season. It's kind of old. Well, he grew quite a bit of a lead, didn't he? But that's closed right the way back down.
It certainly has, and this is what happens. When was the update when the tyres completely changed? Maybe 9 months, maybe even 12 months ago. So there wasn't really much of a drop-off on ACC, if I'm completely honest. And then they had an update with the tyres, and now really it is all about managing the stint. So you can really bed them in nicely at the start of the stint, and they really look they look after you a little bit later in the stint, and we're seeing exactly that there. So Gronewold may have gone out a little bit hot, and we've still got 29 minutes. Well, it's a maximum stint time of 65, right? So they potentially could go 34 more minutes in the car. So yeah, the next half an hour, we see a bit of a slide there actually from Gronewold. So he might be starting to struggle a little bit. And this is historically where Williams have been at their strongest, at the second half of the stint. To be fair, it was, Fiala was very much well known for it. He's in the car right now. So I would expect to see Williams start to make moves now if they have the tyres underneath them.
There was a reason why Williams ended up going on to take the championship last season in the pro category, and it's why they'll be very much aiming for it again. Obviously, I'm sure there are a lot of other teams that are aiming for it, i.e. all of them. First round of the championship and all that, so there's solid vibes between them. You never know how the season's going to unfold, but right now, like you say, Fiala will probably be thinking about how he's going to work his way past us, and Pedri trying to get past Gregor Schill, who's certainly not looking as quick in this running of the race as he did a little bit earlier on. I wonder if there's some damage on Schill's BS competition or something, because this is a lot slower than I'd expect Schill to be running in right now. Yeah,
certainly. But again, is he? He's still in the top 10. He's not far really off the lead, in the grand scale of a 3-hour race. So, he's still in a position to take advantage. Is he just looking after those tyres? We have seen a couple of sends, a bit of contact as well. That would also help being a bit further down the order. Alaric Enslin, by the way, in the chat. Although we've got an incident here between cars 39 and 77. Car 39 has got a 10-second penalty for causing a collision. So yeah, I think that's the Veloce car, right? Number 39.
Yep.
Yeah, so not good there. Malinovsky with a penalty. But yeah, Alaric Enslin in the chat, and he's saying that Halif's a legend. And, well, yeah, he's been around for a long time. It's very rare that you get a sim racer that, lasts the test of time. 5 years now. If you stay around for 5 years at the top level, you've done very, very well, because it's just such a saturated market. There's such big opportunities for these drivers now, and ultimately you can just sit at home and do thousands upon thousands of laps, and if you put the practice in, you can ultimately become quicker. And the beauty of sim racing is, there's no real money involved in terms of being restricted. Like, if you are faster, you will find yourself in a top team. It is as simple as that. So yeah, if you do stick around for a long time, you do become a legend of the sport. So yeah, good to see Alaric. He's been around sim racing for a long time, and he knows his history very much like me and Lewis. So yeah, good to see you in the chat, mate. Anyway, leader Tobias Gronewold, Statsenko second, 3/10 between the two of them. The Ferrari now starting to look very quick at the second half of the stint, and that is also another factor. Manufacturer dependent. The second half of the stint could be a little bit faster as well. The car will be in better nick at the end of the stint as well. So yeah, that's all things you need to take into consideration. Jordan Sherritt there with a penalty, as we saw, number 255. That hasn't flashed up on our screens, I don't believe, yet.
No.
So we'll find out exactly what that was for. But the front five now are very much closing in. Fiala in behind Tinitsa, Tinitsa in behind Osterman, who's got the fastest lap. Osterman behind Statsenko, and Gronewold out in the lead.
Yeah, indeed, and looking fairly strong at the moment. But like I say, there is the whole thing of how things have been, with how all the cars drive. It's not just about how they are over the single lap; it's about how they are over the entirety of the stint. And potentially the Mercedes could wear its tyres a little bit more, especially towards that second half of the stint. So it might not be about what Gronewold's doing or about what Statsenko's doing or Osterman's doing. It could be a little bit about the BOP as well. This could come down to the pit stops, overcuts, undercuts, and how all that's going to work. I mean, obviously the thing is, as much as if you come into the pit lane early and you're aiming for an undercut, yes, you're going to go onto fresh tyres, but you're going back onto a heavy car as well. So it's not as simple as in something like Formula One where you can do the undercut and maybe try and make that work for you and you appear ahead of the car that's coming to the pit lane. It's not quite as simple as that. It's about whether the weight of the extra fuel is kind of compensated with the fresh tyres. It's never an easy one. It's never an easy one knowing how that was. But let's be honest, they'll have done all the practice to have worked out what the optimum strategy is. So we get to just sit back and see how it's going to be. And in 25 minutes, we'll see the start of the pit lane sequence.
We certainly will, and if you come in early, your pit stop is going to be a little bit shorter as well, because you're not having to put as much fuel in the car, because there'll still be some left over. But staying out longer is the best option to get track position, because it does take a couple of laps to get the tyres. It's not even the heat, really, it's the pressures. I guess heat and pressure will kind of work the same way. But yeah, getting the tyres into pressures, it becomes very interesting as to whether ultimately you can get the tyres back up to good nick. And the cars that have stayed out longer, they may be able to get track position on you because of that, because they've done that extra 2 laps or 2 or 3 laps, depending on how many you do, but they've been still absolutely flying.
Yeah, certainly. It's once again, all the strategy and stuff. 24 minutes until we get to that point. That's fine. We'll cross that bridge once we get to it. As it is still the top 5 running pretty closely. I don't think anyone's really going for any major moves at the moment. It's all close to the silver category as well, at least for second in the silver category and back. Gregor Schill continuing to maybe struggle a little bit, and is now holding back the likes of Zempedri, Burnt, Minnick as well.
Yeah, there it is. It's an absolute send down towards the final chicane. And while this is now going to check the whole field up, this is great news for Gronewold. And while there is a position gain for Jakob Osterman, very aggressively done once again. He's being nudged forward by David Tinitsa, who's found himself a little opening to move across the Ferrari. And is there a potential opportunity down towards turn number 1 to go around the outside? No, there is not. And well, again, the big winner, as much as Osterman's gained a position, is Gronewold. So we have not got a rear view mirror full of cars now. He's got a big gap to work with, 1.3 seconds. And again, at home you're sat there going, big gap? That's not very big at all. In the context of this championship, 1.3 seconds is huge. But a nice move there from Osterman. Aggressive, yes. Would it be looked at? Probably. I'm not sure there'll be a penalty though.
No, again, that's one for race control to go through and deal with. As there's a lot to kind of pick apart in all that, and that's a race control decision, not ours. We get to just watch and judge from the sidelines, or just jump straight on the fence and go, oh, I don't know. 1.3 seconds is a large gap. Now we'll really see what the Mercedes' pace is like towards the end of this stint, because is Gronewold going to be able to hold that 1.3 second margin to the McLaren behind? Because this is the point, there's too large of a gap for there to be any real slipstream between the pair of them. It's around about the 1.2 seconds where that kind of stops realistically outside. There'll be a little bit, but not much. But realistically, this is pure pace between the 2 cars and the 2 drivers. So it'd be very fascinating to see if the ITB car can work its way up to the rear end of the 86 now race leader. Yeah,
100%. Looks like we have some replays then from the first phases of this race, then some of the action we've had so far during this one. We'll have a little look at that. Here we go. Here's the race start. Then it's a great start from our pole sitters. They still lead the way, the Mercedes AMG team by MSI, or with MSI. Get across the Ferrari, the Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports team. They go into P2. David Knitzer held on to P3. Of course, in the first restart, he lost a position. But this time, it was actually the Williams Esports team that lost a position. They ended up into P5 after our race start. Bit of a frantic bit of battling, though, with Jakob Osterman. But Osterman in the McLaren just about holds on. So we've got a bit more action a bit further back, though, as well. Are we about to see any potential crashes? There's Mitchy Tauscher. Is this how he ends up at the back of the grid? Because, well, he's very, very close there. Again, where is there's something going to happen? He's, again, facing off from the wrong way a little bit, just sliding. Yeah, he's got the 104 just on the inside of him. But as we come through the Schumacher, the S's, the Schumacher S's, the S's. Ooh. Oh, there we go. So he just loses it. I think he might go all the way around. Yeah, he does. So that was what happened there. That's the Coach Dave car as well. So Mitchy Tauscher, that's how he ended up at the back of the grid. So eventually it did happen, and we saw exactly why that happened there. So, yeah, not good at all. So now we're looking at an accident for car number 52 as well. So you see look how closely they're battling. This is Elvin Smith battling there with a Ferrari, a fellow Ferrari on the right-hand side of the screen. Now left-hand side of your screen is the fastest formation lap in the world right now as they go 2 by 2 down towards 130R. And, well, it looked like Elvin Smith had managed to hold on. He used a bit more track than you expect. A little bit of a barge to come back on track there. I think he had to be a little bit kinder considering he was off circuit. Bounces over the curb there like he's Tony Hawk. Well, then it just gets, yeah, you can go off into the gravel. You can go build some sandcastles. It's 3 wide as we rejoin and loses all downforce on the front of the car. And Elvin Smith facing the wrong way. So not a good start there for Brabham, unfortunately. We're now going to look at an overtake there from the number 138, ascend down the inside of the BS Plus competition car. And yeah, turn number 1 is a very, very nice place to make an overtake, but it doesn't happen very often in the world of motorsport or sim racing. But that was absolutely textbook stuff. And now we're going to watch the Firefly do exactly the same thing. Again, one of the better liveries on the grid for sure. Ascend down the inside. But it was not over. Seville in the number 255 was holding firm. Does have a penalty at this point as well, so Seville doesn't really need to defend it too much, but gave us some brilliant action. Checks the whole field up behind him, by the way. Using a bit of grass there was Seville, which ultimately was the undoing. And the number 77 makes a beautiful move as we head back live. And now we're on board with the Ren Welton car, trying to make a move on Zem Pedri, who does have a penalty. Leaders right now, though, are Tobias Gronewold in P1 for the pros and the silvers. It is Gunin, who is currently 9th overall, but leader of the silvers.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, interesting to see some of those replays, including the race start there. I was wondering when that moment was going to happen for Mitchy Tauscher. It took a while to have. You spotted it on the first lap, seeing the Coach Dave Academy car going off the road. I think there was definitely some assistance in there. There was definitely a little bit of a poke and a little bit of a little bit more nonsense going up the hill through the S's, in the middle of the S's. A poke.
Okay,
don't worry. So yeah, some naughty stuff between them, but either way, dropping down the order, that drama has happened, and of course the number 4 car now right the way down as we'll head a little bit further down, of course, to see Magnini having a little bit of a battle here.
Yeah, we've got Ramanet in behind Magnani. 2 incredible names to say. Oh, yeah, okay, Magnani's car, the Aston Martin, that's lovely as well. It's a really nice livery there for the 201. Heading then in towards Kobayashi, a bit of the defensive move there from the Aston. Not sure you really need to in Kobayashi. As long as you don't leave a car's width on the inside, I think you're going to be pretty good there. Although, who knows, it is the SRO series. They'll probably try and find a gap that's less than that. But the Aston Martin just about holds on. Ah, interesting stuff. Hopefully you're enjoying this at home. Let me know where you're watching from. Guys, let me know who you're supporting. It is about you as much as I can barely say words. It is as much about you guys watching at home in the chat. Lewis is looking up after YouTube, and I'm looking after Twitch. I know that's not what you normally get in a broadcast where people talk to the chat, but I'd like to involve you guys. So if you guys have got any questions or whatnot, if you want to say any mean things, well, I will ignore you, and I will send a letter to your parents. I definitely will do that. But yeah, if you want to get yourself involved, let me know where you're watching from. Who's your favourite driver? Maybe it's the first time you've ever tuned in, and there's something you like in particular. Let us know. Any negatives? Let's leave that at home, shall we?
Well, that's weird because someone's just put in chat. I hate Luke Crane. That's weird.
Oh, Mum's here again.
It's Lewis McGlade Big Fan 5000. It's weird. Completely legit comment that I've not made up. Then
that's actually my mum. I to set it up for as well.
Did you?
Adamant I to give her that name as well.
Damn, she is certainly a big fan. Either way, we'll keep our eye on this. I mean, I'll agree with you, by the way. The livery there on the 201, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, nice.
I love an asymmetrical livery, as we'll get a little bit more of an update from race control of a 15-second time penalty for the 104, which is
ResTech Reparto Corsa by Neuma Plast.
Love that name.
Mate, you're going to love this name. It's not only a great livery that we just pointed out in the Aston Martin, their name is Gladius Competitions. So, you know, they're winning on all angles right now.
Absolutely. That, I believe, was for the incident because the number 4 was Mitchy Tauscher. So I think that was that incident that we saw going up the hill through the S's. So there was a little bit of a poke. And Mitchy Tauscher also got himself a 5-second time penalty for contact between himself and the Myrtle Motorsports, the only Honda NSX. That's basically a crime.
Now it feels like the SRO Championship. Now it feels like the Intercontinental GT Championship, because we're getting penalties thrown out for drivers being naughty. This is what we like to see. Incident between cars 225 and 4 on lap 2. 5-second time penalty. We're on lap 2 penalties right now. So then again, we might have burst by. You might have spoken a little bit too early there, Lewis. I think we might have a few penalties if we're still on lap 2. Heading then round the final corner with Fiala, who, yeah, he's dropped off a little bit here in behind Statsenko. 7/10 between the front two. Jakob Osterman in the McLaren, by the way, as much as you know, he may have been a little bit naughty making an overtake into P2, is absolutely flying right now, and he's closing that gap to Groenewald. It was 1.3, now it's 7/10 of a second, and Aviar Greeny would do anything for Zed Smith.
I've got to say, this kind of like reminded me a little bit of the. I'm pretty sure it's the SimGrid. I think it might be the SimGrid VCA World Cup, which was back in. I think it's the one in 22. We had a round at Donington Park, and I'm pretty sure race control was still dealing with like the first 2 or 3 laps, maybe like 3 or 4 hours into the race, because so much happened. Like there was an enormous crash at turn 1. They just kept like revisiting certain bits, and it was absolutely crazy. Like I say, a lot of penalties coming out, including an extra one there for Tauscher. So obviously had his issue and got sent down the order, and has caused a couple himself. Easily done. Obviously, the red mist and all that. Just kind of coming in, and it is what it is. We'll say fast lap of the race, by the way, for Osterman. The gap has come down for the race lead. It's now under 7/10 of a second. So it was at 1.3. So he's closed that down by half in only in a handful of minutes. I think that Mercedes might not be the quickest over the end of the stint at the moment.
No, it very much looks like the McLaren is quick, although it looks like we've seen Veloce, who are also in the McLarens, really struggle with the car. So, yeah, Osterman is starting to find a lot of performance in it. Something we haven't really touched on is every team has 3 drivers, so we're going to see all of these change in the next sort of 15 to 20 minutes. And we'll see a new driver. We'll see that happen twice today. So each team has those 3 drivers, and they all have to get in the car. So, yeah, the difference in pace is a thing. 3 or 4 years ago, there would be teams that wouldn't have 3 drivers that are quite, equally as good as each other, so it would make a huge difference. It doesn't make a big difference these days. Most teams have got, especially the strongest sides at this real sharp end of the race, will have 3 drivers very, very closely paced. But, yeah, there will be certainly a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, it's not like it was back when I was doing endurance racing, and you could get 2 pretty decent drivers to lug my 104 kilos around the circuit, and it was okay. These days, you can't get away with that. You just cannot. If you want to win a race, or at bare minimum, let's say, if you want to get a top 5 in a race this, and that is even in the silver category, realistically. If you want to compete towards the front, you have to have 3 drivers of basically the same speed, because there are lots of other teams that have 3 drivers of basically the same speed, and it's all rapid. That's just the nature of how things are in sim racing at the moment. It has grown a lot when it comes to obviously not just all you lot jumping in, viewing, joining us here on the Saturday afternoon, but also from just a strength of field, from a quality of driver. The front of the field is probably still the same pace that it was 10 years ago, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
But it's just the amount of drivers that can do that pace way more than it's ever been.
I'm looking here at the Moning's car, the ST Racing Esports. Looks like they've just chucked a load of paint on the front bonnet and then let it spread across as they drive. But I really like it. And again, if you're a delivery creator and I've just upset you, I can only apologise. But I do like it. But it does look like they've just chucked paint on it and gone, yeah, that'll do.
should have heard my criticisms of the Fury car on ESLR1 last season. I was not particularly kind to it.
Look where they are now.
Yeah, gone.
Because of you.
Yeah, exactly. I was speaking of some dodgy things about their livery, but no, that one's not for me. Is this one that certainly is, of course, the 201 car. Magnini still being able to keep Ramonette behind. I'm not sure that's going to last too long for the Gladius car.
No, Ramonette's going to try and find a gap on the inside here, and if you're Aston Martin, you really should be covering that off, although the outside line might be favoured because you keep the momentum, and he actually absolutely has there. Ramonette being very clever, decides not to send it up the inside, and probably thinking we're going to fight another day here, but the Aston may be starting to struggle. Looks like the Ferrari behind then of Ramonette is here to party and wants to grab some positions, and they are battling for position in their race. And behind them, they've got Smith, who's battling in the Pro Series, so even if they get overtaken by him, it doesn't really matter. They won't lose anything, as we actually might be able to see a move here. We've got AVR Greeny in the chat who's thinking this might be the best moment of their weekend, but unfortunately Smith does not make the move, although there's a mistake there from the Ferrari. They just lose traction there with the rear and just slide it ever so slightly. That's actually a hell of a save. It didn't look anything too crazy, but that is some save to keep hold of that, especially at this stage of a stint as well. And Smith then not able to make a move. So Ramonette is pushing 100%. Can he go and grab Magnani's position?
There's the penalty for Malinovsky, so he's done an extra one, unfortunately, for the Veloce Vexed team. So an extra 15 seconds to chuck onto him after contact between themselves and the 44. As we were keeping our eye on the fight. I'll agree with you. That was an excellent catch going through T1. You can't underestimate how swift hands you need, but then kind of like I say swift, but it's more delicate. You've got to be able to move it quickly, but not overcorrect. And that was well held, as we'll keep our eye on the race lead, because Osterman's closed up, but now doesn't have the pressure of Tinitsa behind because there's 1.1 seconds between them, so can actually go on the attack without the fear of being overtaken.
That's an extremely good point there, Lewis, because, again, now he's got a couple of attempts here where he just doesn't have the pressure from behind. And this is the phase of the race where you kind of want to be in the lead because, or at least have a clear track in front of you, because when you come into the pits, if you choose the same lap as the car in front of you, you're going to be a little bit impeded. You're going to lose time. And, a couple of tenths of a second is huge in this race, as you can see by the gaps. If you can get yourself into the lead, you absolutely have to. And actually, last year, and Jakob is going to be furious with me here. I had an interview with him, and I mentioned it last time we spoke, and I'm about to mention it again. He was in the lead the last time I commentated on him in an IC race, and he spun in the pits at Kyalami. So, he needs to make sure he just gets into the pits and not make any errors.
How? Did he ever commit on the entry?
Completely. He come round the corner into the pit entry, and then literally, I guess, put the power down as he exited that little entry at Kyalami and just spun.
0 out of 10. That's not. It's fine. We'll bring it up. I mean, let's be honest. We still bring up the legendary Michi Tauscher moment, and that was over 2 years ago now. Obviously, the 2022 VCO Esports Racing World Cup. Obviously, that was the final corner at Bathurst, and he went for a little bit of a spin whilst trying to celebrate. Not ideal. I bring up that up on a near daily basis when I'm on an ACC broadcast. So sorry. Whoops.
Yeah, we shouldn't be bringing stuff up like that, but it's always.
You can't help it.
No, it is fun. These guys are exceptionally talented drivers, but when they do make a mistake, it is fun. It makes me feel better about my ability, which is very little.
Yeah, I mean, look, you need all the help that you can get, because these ain't Clios, mate. These ain't Clios. As we'll see if Osterman's going to be able to close up. I reckon if it was Clios, I think
I'd take on the world, mate.
You'd have a good shout if this group was all Clios. As Osterman closing his way right up. I think there might be maybe there's going to be a look down into T1, but I think Groenewold's going to hang on. More so, you're absolutely right. You want to go for the move more now because you want the track position, but that means the drivers that are ahead will want to defend more now. If this was earlier on in the race, maybe Groenewold wouldn't defend quite as hard to hold on to the race lead. But because we're towards the end of the first stint, they want that track position coming down to pit lane. You're absolutely right, because it is a tricky pit entry here. It's surprisingly tricky.
Yeah, 100%. I think having clear air going into the pitch, you can dictate exactly how quickly you go in there or how slowly you go in there ultimately. Although we have seen some people get punted on entries. We're about to see a move here between the two funkiest liveries on the grid, I would probably say. As Moaning sends one down the inside of the Renwelton burnt car. And by the time we come through the exit, oh, there's a little bit of a shove there. Almost to say, no, I will have that position. And the Ford Mustang does go up into the lead. Doesn't matter whether it looks like it's had paint just thrown on it. It's a very quick weapon right now.
Yeah, indeed. And Mustang's running second and third in the silver category. Obviously behind the Aston Martin of Goonan that is the race leader in silver. So still a fair amount going on. Back to the race leader overall. Gaps closing down though behind Tanitz's, almost knocking at the door. So those potential opportunities for Osterman slipping through his fingers as there's a time penalty for the 71. So more coming through. That one is the JP Motorsports car in the silver category of contact between themselves and the 39, which of course is the Veloce Vexed car that Malinovsky is behind the wheel of.
Yeah, it's been an interesting start for the Veloce group, unfortunately for them. And I mean interesting in not the best of ways. Right, so now we are at the point where if you want to come in early, you can make it work. So we might start to see cars decide to come in early. Anyone with a penalty, we're not going to see that. They're going to drop positions anyway. But yeah, right now, this is where you can make a strategy work by coming in early, because the stint time is maximum 65 minutes, meaning, of course, you know, the next two stints will get you across the line by going a little bit longer. So yeah, will we see anybody try and do something different? Yes, we will. The Williams car have come in. They have. Fiala is the first to blink. So now this is where we'll see how good that strategy call will be.
Feels very, very early, but of course they'll be stationary for around about 30-odd seconds.
Yeah, but Lewis, they just literally made me sound like I know what I'm talking about, because I said this is the first attempt that the people could come in and make it work, and they did it. Cheers, Williams. Maybe my relationship with Williams is still repairable. Don't tell the red line, boys. I
was going to say, I mean, fair enough. I'll pass that on to Redline, see how they feel about that one, about your predictions there with it's fine. No, don't worry about it. But I think it's very interesting to see them working their way in the pit lane this early, but alas, we'll see Wojtek Fiala out of the race. This is the whole thing with this as well. You've got a 3-hour race here. You've done your 1-hour stint. Now you're out. You're done. Like you're not jumping back in for the final stint of the race, whatever. You're not doing 2 stints, whatever. Because there's 3 drivers and there's 3 hours of racing, you do 1 stint and then you get out, and that's it. It's now down to your teammates. I think that's actually quite like difficult to deal with. You're just like, yeah. I'm done.
Yeah, but you've got to stay in the car. What have you learned from the stint? You know, I tell you what, this is not the worst thing in the world here for Williams. They've got some lovely clear track in front of them. No one's anywhere near them, so they can just go about their pace here and just bed those tyres in again, and off they go. And this is what they were so good at. They were so good at not necessarily leading out from the front last season, but ultimately getting the result by just doing their own business, doing it their own way. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, it's actually one point. This is Tinker van der Velde now is into the cars. Of course, they've got to change drivers as well. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anyone covers them off. I still think staying out longer is probably the better strategy call, if I'm completely honest. But it's nice to see people trying to do something a bit different. Anyone going to decide to cover them off? As we come then, we do.
Whoa!
Oh, he's nearly done it again. Oh, Osterman. You can't do that to my heart. He's going to have lost time. He pushed the envelope as we actually see Scuderia Ferrari also come into the pits then. So second and fourth are in, and this will be very interesting when we get to the merge. This actually might work out for Lamborghini now with clear air to push into that gap that's been left by those two.
How good was that though? I mean, don't get me wrong, that was high risk from Osterman, but my goodness, did he throw that one into the pit lane entry. I've not seen someone attack the pit entry here at Suzuka that hard before, but it is important. Osterman was closing back up to Grunewald, and you know, I'm sure he'll pass over. I'm not sure which one he's going to pass it over to of his teammate, whether it'll be between Reuters or Pavlovsky, but I mean, this could be a huge moment in them to potentially take over the race lead from Grunewald, because that McLaren is quicker than the Merc right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. I couldn't agree more. But look at George Boothby, always in and around the action, right? You know, don't ever count those people out. Jordan Sherratt, of course, has a 10-second penalty. He's going to lose position to the likes of Boothby. Goonan, all of a sudden, is P6 in the silver class as well. And P2 in that class. He's also got a 15-second penalty. So great news for Goonan. We're on board, though, with Zampedri. Has a penalty as well. So Gregor Schill will just be hoping that there's no real fight here, or no real sort of rush to make a move, because ultimately he's going to lose a hell of a lot of positions with that 15-second time penalty. So there's no use in hampering someone else's race as well. But Jakob Osterman is out ahead by the looks of things. I just saw him at the bottom of our screens there on the left-hand side. Osterman is out ahead of the Williams car, which we kind of expected. There was a big gap there, but I wonder how close those two are. But as well on board here with Zampedri, currently in 8th position, 2nd overall in the silver class.
So there's a lot to deal with in that, and I'm sure, to be fair, it's more about where this car, here you go, Kamil Pawlowski behind the wheel. You can see the Ferrari and the Williams Esports car behind got to deal with the lone Honda NSX in the race. Kamil Pawlowski, here's a story for Pawlowski, and the interesting one. Recently got married, so congratulations. And by recently, as far as social media will tell me, as the race leaders come into pit lane, except for George Boothby, who will take over the race lead here at Suzuka. No worry on that one, because they can go past the hour, so that's fine. But Kamil Pawlowski recently got married 3 days ago, according to social media, which is what are you doing a sim race 3 days after getting married? Clearly the other half's well aware and very comfortable with the idea of Pawlowski being a sim racer and one of the best at it as well. But there's your fun fact of the day for Kamil Pawlowski. So congratulations to him. See if there's going to be any majors in this race. Got to deal with the NSX directly ahead of him, hoping that they'll come into the pit lane. Will they? Yes. Pawlowski getting slowed down. Now here is the big bit. What is the gap going to be between Kamil Pawlowski and the ITB racing car, and of course the MSI Esports is going to be tight on the exit of pit lane, but where is MSI? Tobias Pfeffer behind the wheel, still going to be ahead, Luke.
Oh, wow, that is really close indeed. The biggest winners really are the Lamborghini Esports team. They are very close now in 3rd position, but right now Osterman will have the better tyres. So Lewis, this next lap is vital here. The MSI team have to hold on, but Jakob Osterman will fancy his chances. He'll know, he's got the experience, he knows that there is an opportunity here to go out there and lead this race.
Had that NSX not got in the way, I wonder if there might have actually been a switch for the lead then. I wonder if Pawlowski might have had the pace to maybe sneak his way past. But alas, Tobias Pfeffer coming out of the pit lane. Breath of relief for the MSI Esports team that remain as the race leader. Of course, George Boothby, the race leader at the moment, because he's not stopped, as is all of those drivers between them. You'll see the 255 drop out of that lead battle, mostly courtesy of a penalty that they've had to take. So they've been stationary for a little bit longer. So that's why you won't see them come out anywhere near the group for what will become the top 5 once again.
Yeah, 100%. So, I'm sure we're going to see some changes of position a little bit further back due to, well, we definitely will because of the penalties. Gregor Schill into the pits moaning, Burnt, Fleischer and Smith into the pits as well as Malinowski, who, well, they're going to be stationary for an extra 25 seconds. That is less than ideal. Zampedri has yet to come in. Boothby still out there. Goonin, leader of the Silvers, still out there as well. So our lead group, who are currently down in 21st position, they are now going to jump up maybe 9 or 10 positions, but it will be either the next lap, this lap, or the next lap, where everybody will have to have come in.
Yeah, bearing in mind what we saw from Williams there, because they stopped 6 minutes before the line. I would suggest from that then you should really be able to go at least like an hour and 4 minutes. Obviously that depends on car, because not every car will go exactly the same distance in this race, but really you can get an hour and 4 minutes, because if you could only get an hour and 2 and then you were like fuel save a little bit, you're asking for trouble there. This is the car that went the shortest on the first stint, and you can see the gap growing to Grantas Caracas. Of course, in the Scuderia Ferrari directly ahead. Mulot behind the wheel of the Lamborghini, then Pawlowski, then Pfeffer. That is the realistic leading group. So it's still very tight between the what will be the top 5, which is exactly what we want to see after just an hour of racing.
Yeah, 100% there. Grantas Caracas, who was representing Veloce last time in this championship, is now representing the Ferrari team then. Currently in that number 51, chasing down Kamil Pawlowski, who already has the fastest lap. Yes, I guess he did, because it was Jakob Osterman that had the fast lap. So Pavlovsky already flying then along. And Osterman, sorry, not Osterman, of course, the ITB car was not able to get up into the lead of this race. So we have had Tobias Pfeffer managed to hold on. Pavlovsky is the car in second position there. So nice gap to just sort of push up there. But it looks like Pfeffer, who did qualify pole position, you're expecting him to be quick, right? Considering he was the fastest in our shootout for pole position. It won't take him long to get his car up into the running order or up into full pace with the pressure of the tyres. But actually, it looks like he might have already done that already. But everyone else is going to come into the pits. They should go back into the lead as well. And all will be right in the world.
See Niels Nyox here in the middle of a few silver cars, obviously dropping back a lot, just taking over from Gregor Schill. I'm sure he won't be particularly satisfied with his current position in the race, but then again, when's Niels Nyox ever been satisfied?
No, the silver fox amongst silver drivers. Who'd have thought it, eh? Yeah, so Ayamulo just had a big moment there. It looked like he was trying to come down to the pit lane again, but they don't need to, obviously. If you do any more pit stops than 2 in this race, then it's not gone well under some severe pressure from Ferrari. I always like it when it's Ferrari versus Lamborghini, like the official teams as well. So Ferrari and Lamborghini Esports both going at it. That's, I don't know, there's just something quite poetic about it.
Oh, I absolutely agree. You know, we do have a lot of, in a sense, manufacturer-backed teams. Obviously, you've got a few of the Mercedes-backed teams, being in Williams and MSI. Obviously, you've got Lamborghini, you've got Ferrari, you've got McLaren with the McLaren Veloce. There's quite a lot out there when it comes to the support from manufacturers and stuff for various sim racing teams. Obviously, BMW backing a few teams. Are they still a BMW M team? Are they still with BS Competition? Because it's not BMW M Team BS Competition anymore, is it? It's just BS Competition.
Yeah, so they still use the car. I'm not sure whether they're with them. I know they're with Redline. I know they're with Mouse as well. Is there another? There is another team. There is a third team. I think BS is still associated. I think they're still involved. Yeah, because they had a meetup in Munich a couple of months ago, and I believe they were there. So. Yeah, I would assume that is the case.
Yeah, so the thing is that I remember there was 4 teams before, and I cannot remember which 4 it was.
G2.
G2 was the other one. Yes, exactly.
Now they use Porsche.
Yeah, indeed. God, honestly, that's a great shout. I completely forgot about G2 being one of the BMW teams. Fair shout. Your memory's better than mine.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of time twiddling my thumbs over the last few months, so you've got to just cram up on the information. Anyway, back to the leaders. Everyone's in the pit now, I think. Yes, so Pfeffer will inherit the lead, of course. Kamil Pavlovsky then in second spot, of fresh from winning the Racing Prodigy. He'll have a full season paid for in real cars. Yeah. And he's actually just got married as well, so congratulations, Kamil. I've known Kamil for a very long time. I've commentated on him becoming a 2-time Project Cars SMSR World Champion. On the first game and Project Cars 2. Let's not talk about the third. And yeah, he's just someone who's always been there or thereabouts within my commentary career, as much as he's a lot younger than I am. So yeah, congratulations to him on not only winning Racing Prodigy, but also getting married.
I did bring up the fact that he got married, because again, the social post was 3 days ago, right?
God, how good did they look? Oh,
I know,
what a couple.
Bless him. But I did say, I'm like, wow, she must be a very, very supportive wife, considering the fact of not that long after getting married. He's like, right, back in the sim rig with you then, mate. Off you go, pal. Get on it.
He is a good-looking chap, so he can pretty much do whatever he likes.
Goodness me, I respect it. I don't get that kind of support. That's why I don't drive anymore.
It's no different though to being a postman and getting married and then going back to your job a week later. This is his job, right? So it kind of makes sense.
That's true, but it is a video game at the end of the day, so it's still kind of, I don't know, it's just different vibes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still a job though.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, they're still making a living. Tobias Pfeffer, by the way, is absolutely flying away here from Kamil Pavlovsky as we talk about him. He's now actually being chased down by Ayamulo, who's currently in that third position in the Lamborghini Esports team. Granted, Caracas only 3/10 the further back. And that really is the perfect scenario now for Pfeffer, is that these 3, and maybe even 4, if Tinko van der Velde can catch up, if they start to battle. A little bit further back then, we've got Niels Klinkmuller, who is in behind I can never say his name, Fidelibus, for what would be 11th position. But Klinkmuller, this is, again, a silver car, so if I was the Lamborghini, I wouldn't defend this too hard. You don't really want to get involved in something that doesn't affect you too much. Of course, the car behind you would be potentially taking your podium away, so you don't want to give the Aston Martin any kind of advantage. But the Renvelton outfit, they're not able to find themselves a gap there. And yeah, the number 6 from the silver class managed to hold on, but they're very close. And I think by the time they get down towards turn number 1, there might be an opportunity for an overtake.
Yeah, indeed, not too far away from the silver lead as well is the Lamborghini ahead of us, but might drop back a spot and into the clutches of Oliver behind. There comes a look to the inside. Klinkmuller going to try and make something stick from the Renvelton car down into T1, but cannot make that move stick as in the background the 276 goes out a little bit wide, and again the gaps remain as they are. Race leader pulling out now to nearly 2 seconds. The Pfeff is charging. The question will be though, we kind of saw the gaps growing a little bit in the early stages of the previous stint when Grunewald was behind the wheel of the 86, and then it closed back up again, courtesy of Ostermann's excellent pace. Will Pavlovsky have the same kind of bit? Has he been able to practice enough? Fed's just dropped in chat. Camille's married to the grind. Fair enough. I mean, potentially so.
Yeah, well, we've got another penalty here, by the way, from lap number 3. So the fact we're still on lap number 3 is a little bit worrying. To show there was a bit more action than maybe what we first thought. So yeah, that is going to be a 15-second time penalty for their troubles. All of a sudden, by the way, Luke Whitehead now up to P7. So with the penalties there, the Veloce car moving up a few spots. Santoro is now 6.7 behind 5th spot Tinko van der Velde. So, excuse me, the front 5 are kind of sort of moving away, and they were the front 5 on the grid in terms of qualifying. So they're the only teams that scored points so far. For pole position, it was 5 points. For second, it was indeed 4. For third, it was 3. For fourth, it was 2. And for fifth, you got 1 point. And they're all currently in the lead, which is very rare, actually. Normally, there's some sort of incident or some sort of penalty caused from one of the front drivers for them to fall out. But no, the front 5 stayed as they are. Well, in a little bit of different order.
Yeah, and some slightly larger gaps appearing between them, because look at Tinko van der Velde now 1.3 seconds off the rear end of Caracas as well. So the gap's certainly growing, but like you say, the order is the top 5 is relatively speaking unchanged, and like I say, whether that'll be the case in an hour and 50 minutes, I don't think it's that simple, is it? You know, that's how these kind of races unfold, especially when you're jumping driver to driver. Whilst we say that everyone's pace is generally speaking the same, there's sometimes maybe it takes you a little bit longer to get into the rhythm. Normally they're pretty good at just jumping straight in and being straight on the pace, but sometimes it can just take you a little bit longer than others just to get up into that speed, to build that confidence once again, especially when it's the first round of the championship. You know, it plays out slightly differently than what we see mid-season. Yeah,
and raw pace, their pace is going to be very similar,
yeah.
But stint pace is a whole different animal. So a driver being able to manage the tyres, same as another driver, that becomes a little bit more difficult. So you might see drivers near the end of the stint be struggling a little bit more than their teammates would have done. But yeah, especially the top teams, top 5, look like they're very much in control of this race right now, and they've got. Well, I've just looked at their roster here. So for the leaders of this race, Tobias Grunewald, Tobias Pfeffer, and Nicholas Huben, there's no weak link in that 3. There, they've they were very close to winning the championship actually last season. Then you look at the Ferrari Scuderia, Ferrari Esports team. They've got Statsenko, Hartevelt still to get into the car, and Gratis Caracas, who's currently in the car. Then you look at the Lamborghini Esports team, David Tinitza, who's been very, very tip-top on ACC since the very beginning. I remember they had a Monza event when this game was still in beta, live at Monza, and he's on the podium. He won that event. Obviously comes from Formula 1 Esports as well, double champion, not to say the least. And then you've got Daniel Savini, who's very good. Imulo, who's in the car right now, who's very, very good as well. Then we head to the Williams team. Rodriguez, Fiala, Tinko van der Velde, those 3 have been running together forever. Those are very, very fast drivers. Again, I'm actually a little bit shocked at how far they are down, so I'm expecting to see them have an upturn of their fortunes moving further into this race. And then you've got in the top 5 there, Jakob Ostermann, who's currently second with Lewis Rotters and Kamil Pavlovsky. Those 3 are very, very strong teams. Those 5 are very, very strong teams. There are some strong teams a little bit further down the order, but those 5 really do stick out.
Certainly so, and unfortunately for our driver running in second position, there's been a 5-second time penalty that we added on the pit stop that might drop them out of this grouping. That could be a painful one. Not 100. Oh, it'll be for the it'll be for the move on the Lamborghini. Yeah, 100%. It'll be when he made that move on Tnitsa. When Austin made that move on Tnitsa, it would have been somewhere around there. It was a little bit elbows out, so fair enough. There's confirmation of that one. Instant between the 7 and the 63. We're good at this.
We certainly are, but there was also another overtake that happened a little bit later in the stint that will, if that was a 5-second penalty, I think we're probably going to see another 5 seconds added to that team there. So Pavlovsky might have a 10-second penalty at the end of his stint for the third driver to deal with. Savini will have to deal with that, which is not ideal.
No, it certainly isn't. But that's how it goes. Yeah, it's a team game. They'll know the penalties.
Not Savini. My bad.
No, yeah, I was going to say Savini's in the Lambo. Yeah, no, I didn't want to correct you because I also wasn't sure. So I'm like, no. Look, you know what you're talking about sometimes. Clearly,
it's 129 drivers we've got to remember for 43 teams. It's a tough gig.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And then we've got to say it correctly as well. That's a whole different conversation.
But we just never do. So what's the point? Like, this is the thing is that I get the feeling, right? Okay. If we don't say anyone's name correctly, then it's fine.
Yep. That's a good point.
Because then it's not unfair. So I'm also fully behind your whole Tobias Hoban.
If we say their name incorrectly, they need to be sending emails to their parents real fast saying this is how our name should be said by now.
Exactly.
Another penalty. Of course, another penalty. Between cars 39 and 996 for lap 9. A 5-second penalty for car 996, not the Veloce car. So for once they've been dealt with favourably. Unfortunately, Malinowski receiving a couple of penalties in the earlier stint. So yeah, the car 996 getting this as a 5-second penalty there for causing a collision, and that is the Drive Just Boys and Sim Magic car.
Yeah, I think there was something down into the hairpin. I remember correctly. There was a certain little instant between the Drive Just Boys car going down there. Interesting livery on that machine, as we'll see Niels Nyox trying to get his way up into 13th overall, but of course currently running 10th position in the pro category. Probably just, I'd say, not particularly pleased about where he is.
Lead
did they
BMW
have a penalty?
Lead BMW. No, they didn't have a penalty, just that position.
So it must have been damage repair, because Gregor Schill was running in like 7th or 8th. There must have been damage repair, which explains a lot.
They took one to the box earlier in the race, didn't they? They took a big, heavy hit. So, yeah. Very unfortunate there. So, yeah, it looks like they might have had to fix some damage. But they are still the lead BMW, so that will be some solace for the situation. So if you're not having a good race, if you are the lead of your manufacturer, you kind of got to think, well, maybe we did kind of get the best result we possibly could have done. Yeah,
exactly. It's kind of, if you have struggled, it's just kind of another one of those little ones to kind of tick off of, like, whether you're, where your teammates are, or where the other cars are, that the same manufacturer. Like those are small things that can kind of turn the tide of what's been maybe a slightly mediocre race, or for BS competition. And we know how quick they are on ACC. This 10th place for them is probably not a mediocre race. That's a bad race. Right, they expect to be at a bare minimum top 5s.
Yeah, especially on ATC. This is their bread and butter, isn't it? This sim, obviously they participate on multiple different sims. But yeah, for ATC they expect to be right at the sharp end, and unfortunately just not today. But this is the lead group that are. So Ayamulo, who's now behind Pavlovsky. The gap, by the way, at the front from Pfeffer to Pavlovsky is now 3 seconds. So this is perfect, because if Camille is struggling, he's going to slow those 2 cars behind and also have a 5-second penalty at minimum to deal with. So this really does give an opportunity for Mercedes, AMG Esports, Team MSI, kind of just drive away. We have now got ourselves a couple of Porsches. We've got Gagliardini and we've got Cardinale battling for a spot. And then just in behind them, we've got Sean Arnold, who is one of the stronger people in sim racing. Loves to lift weights, his old Sean, the Welshman. He's got big guns.
He certainly does. I remember him and his abilities and escapades in the Le Mans Virtual Cup to try and get his way into the 2023 version of the Le Mans Virtual. We saw his webcam a few times. No, that was the one on.
No, I mean he comes from Forza. That's where he started.
Say,
yeah.
I know. Yeah, he's a big dude. He's a big dude. He doesn't mess around.
No,
he's been sim racing for a long time, hasn't
he? Yeah, sometime he was in the Forza RC back in the day. It was worth $1 million or $500,000. Raced alongside sort of like Dara McCormack. We also had Tobin Lee as well. He's now owns his own sim racing recruitment company. There's lots of big names that come from there. It's Aurelien Mallet as well. You remember him, the Red Bull driver. He now retired from all of sim racing actually. Yeah, some big names that came across onto Project Cars, ACC, iRacing from Forza, and Sean being one of them. Sean has been around for some time now, maybe even a decade actually.
Yeah, and then there's us. We've been around for more. You've been around for more than a decade, right? Yeah,
yeah, I've been around for a fair few years.
Yeah, surely. Yeah, I mean, I'm at 11 now. That's fine. Time's flying. As we're seeing another time penalty, 5 seconds for car number 11. Which one? The car number 11 is a pro car, isn't it?
No, it's Raggioli Esports. Yeah, so Ruggiero got that penalty because they've got, I think, Francesco Mazza in the car now. So there we go. Oh, look at that. God, Tom, it's unbelievable. I'm getting things right today. It's ridiculous.
You're good at this.
This isn't normal, guys. Normally I'm getting all sorts of things wrong.
What did you think of that livery then, the Ruggioli Esports? I quite like the Ruggioli Esports livery.
It's quite nice. I was too busy scrolling through the entry list to find out who they were, mate. So I didn't really see it.
Oh, right. It's only right when you're flicking through the old sheet. No, it's fine. No, again, I got to respect it. Quick goal for you then. Car 52.
Oh, 15 seconds. That's a big collision.
I was hoping you still had the sheet up.
Sorry, you want to know who that was?
It's Brabham. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that was for the big dog facing the wrong way collision there, as Avilés is now in the car. So they are still in this race, and they've been given... So that's really annoying, isn't it? If you're the driver that gets a penalty, and then the penalty gives into your teammate. If you're the teammate, you're just sat there going, oh, cool, cheers, guys. Appreciate that. And it won't actually be the second teammate either. It'll be the third one that suffers with it, because they'll have to wait in the pits for 15 seconds. Oh, yeah, that's annoying.
It is. It's actually, that was actually one of the main reasons why I didn't enjoy endurance racing as much as I thought I would when I did it. I've only ever done one season of endurance racing, and I loved both my teammates. They were great, but we did a race in Interlagos, and there was a rule that you couldn't cut the pit lane entry. And one of my teammates, I'm not going to name names, but it was Lars Brugman, decided that it was a good idea to keep cutting it. And we got a whopper of a penalty for the next round. I remember just sitting there being like, brilliant. And I feel like the next round, I don't think he was there for the next round. And so we all just had to like suck up the penalty whilst he wasn't there. It's like, brilliant. Whereas at least, if you're doing like touring car racing or stuff, it's like you get the penalty and you have to deal with it. It's tough. No,
fair enough. Yeah, I've done endurance racing. I've won Daytona. I've won Bathurst, but not much luck anywhere else. I left the team this year because I've got another job now, and they won Nürburgring, one that I could never win. It was me that destroyed our car twice around there as well. So yeah, the one I couldn't do. As soon as I leave, they win. So fair play to Team Woo. Congratulations to them. They've had a pretty good year. I think the best thing that ever happened to them was me leaving. So
no problem.
Yeah, it was a sad day for me, but for them, they probably had a party to celebrate. So yeah, it's interesting. Right, guys, I'm going to leave you with Lewis here. I need to go fill up my drink. As you can tell, my voice is very much struggling, so I need to go and get myself a nice cold water. I'll be 2 seconds.
Indeed, off he runs. Full sprint, in fact, for Luke Crane. Whilst it is full sprint at the towards the front of the field, Kamil Pawlowski 3.5 seconds off of Tobias Pfeffer as the MSI Esports team start to take control here at Suzuka. Oh, that was a horrible exit from Imulo in the Lamborghini Esports team. We'll see if Grantas Karakas might be able to make a move. He's raced for an awful lot of teams as the Lithuanian superstar, and he's maybe he's found a home, but to be fair, he keeps changing, so I have no idea. He's a quality driver, though. That's why teams want him. That's why he keeps signing for big teams. It's not as if he's just jumping between some teams towards the back of the grid. It's always a team somewhere towards the front for him, and at the moment, Karakas is trying to find that move on Imulo. really poor exit from the Lamborghini coming out through the final turn. Just too much of the curb on the right-hand side. Basically what Luke was saying earlier on about, there's a way that you could take that curb, either not too much or too much, but that fine bit in the middle, once you hit it that way, it's really bad. It feels slightly counterintuitive, and that's exactly what happened there with Ayamulo. Gap for the race has actually come down by half a second. There's not an excellent opening sector from our race leader of Tobias Pfeffer. Curious if that Mercedes, again, the end stint pace from them in the previous stint was not great. Is the way of putting it. Groenewold struggled with Ostermann's charge up to the rear end of him, and I do believe we might start seeing those tyres struggling just a touch for the 86 once more, and maybe the likes of Kamil Pawlowski will close back in. Of course, still has that 5-second time penalty when Ostermann worked his way past David Tunitsa. That's why Kamil Pawlowski, or at least the ITB team, will have to deal with that a little bit later on as we head a little bit back down the order to Adair, who's obviously in a sea of silver at the moment, with Lee in a Stroza directly ahead. Niels Nyox managed to clear a lot of this silver battling as he'll try and close the 4.8 seconds back down to Klinkmuller in the Ren Velton car that's currently running in 12th position overall, of course 9th in category. Adair's running in 11th in category, just surrounded by the silver cars. This time the poor exit though is for Kamil Pawlowski in the ITB car as we head our way down the hill. Will there be the move from the Lamborghini Esports team? Takes a look to the inside, but that's more defending from Grantas Caracas directly behind. So keeps the Ferrari there as there goes the look to the inside. The Lithuanian driver sends it down the inside of Iamulo and will try and complete the move side by side up towards the S's between the pair of them. And it will be the Scuderia Ferrari making the move past. Lovely.
Delightful driving there. Both of them leaving each other room, but Grantas Caracas within an inch of that Lamborghini does get ahead and takes full advantage. The Lamborghini is looking to make a move for second, but ultimately the Ferrari then seized an opportunity. It was the smallest of gaps, but made it work, and that was proper racing, ladies and gentlemen. It does take two to tango, so you've got to congratulate both of them. But Grantas Caracas moves up to third, and now off to challenge Pawlowski. Pawlowski, I think, might be having a bit of a hangover from his wedding. He seems to be struggling with pace now. 3.6 seconds. I'm not sure it really matters if they drop off pace at the front of this race. With that kind of gap, they can drop off a couple of tenths a lap, and they'll be pretty good for the second half of this stint. So, yeah, I think they're in a good spot right now to go out there and win this race. Barring any mistakes, they're the kind of team that with a 3.6 second advantage, it becomes very, very difficult to beat them.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, very interesting that the pace has kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit. I will say Pawlowski had like a lap there where he closed up half a second, but I think that was just a mistake from Pfeffer. Fairly light one, an innocuous one, but still, a mistake is a mistake. Got some lap traffic to deal with as well, does Tobias Pfeffer, which could slow him down. That might be the only thing that's going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons for the MSI Esports team. The gap's not... I'd say it's decent, but it's not comfortable yet. It's not where they can start, relaxing and chilling. You've still got to keep your eyes focused for the next 95 minutes of racing as more penalties come in this time. But it's for the 96 who's picked up a drive-through penalty. Yeesh.
Oh, that is a big old penalty there. So the number 96, just looking down at my little cheat sheet here. That is the ATS Corsa Esports team. So yeah, drive through that is going to very much hurt their progress in this race. What might also hurt Tobias Pfeffer is there's a back marker in front of them. How quickly will they be able to get the back marker out the way? That is the big question. You don't really want to catch them into the Degners, which will be the next couple of corners they have to negotiate. Will be very interesting. Will they catch him there? Maybe not. Maybe not quite catch them there. But this is just the worst place around this circuit to catch any kind of back mark traffic. I want to talk about gaps. Santoro is closing into the top 5. 4.8 seconds. It was 6.8 at one point, so they've caught 2 seconds. And Luke Whitehead in that number 40 McLaren for Veloce in 7th right now is flying as well. Half a second behind Santoro. So those two working together might be able to catch up. Inostroza in 14th then, keeping Niels Nyox honest, although they're both racing in different categories, Silver and indeed Pro. He's keeping him superbly honest. And, well, there we go. Tobias Pfeffer does indeed get past relatively cleanly. It was 3.9 seconds the advantage. We're about to see them cross a timing beam as we head through the Spoon curve. and see as to whether there was any time lost, but I think it'll be minimal if there was any at all. Pavlovsky, you see here, very much struggling with that car, very much struggling with the McLaren. Ayamulo just in behind Grantis Caracas, who made that very heroic lunge down in towards turn 1. And if there was any time lost, it was about a 1/10 of a second. So Fefe has not lost any time and is in the lead by 3.8.
Yeah, certainly so. Like I say, just continues to build out a little 10th here, a little 10th there. But will that Mercedes start to struggle in the second half of this stint? I've already had a couple of hints of it. Will it ebb and flow back the way of the number 7? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Tinko van der Velde has not been able to use the pace of the Mercedes to close back up towards the Lamborghini ahead of him. Obviously, there are talks that maybe the Mercs kind of not ideal around here. Obviously, it's fine for a few laps, but we've kind of seen the hints of it struggling a little bit on pace over the entirety of the stint. And if that is the case, then I can see Tinko van der Velde dropping completely out of contention for the podium battle, because if he's not able to close back up to the Lamborghini, and if the pace is worse in the second half of the stint, then yeah, it's going to go bye-bye. Of course, is also on slightly older tyres as well, because he stopped, or the Williams team rather, stopped earlier.
Yeah, well, it looks like we've got some replays here between ERE Race Esports Team and BS Competition, and also the move for P3, which was the Ferrari on the Lamborghini. So let's check this out then. So this is the initial action. So BS Competition sending one down the inside. Oh, okay, that's naughty, naughty. Very naughty. And you've got the Veloce Academy car, who actually wasn't able to take advantage of both of them. Did get one position, but that, I guess they did have a penalty. That would be why they lost the time in the end. But this is the move then, an opportunistic move. So the Lamborghini goes defensive, and then at the very last second, on the second apex here, Grantis Caracas sends one down the inside. And ultimately, as they went through the S's, it was a brilliant battle. Look at this, leaving each other the perfect amount of room, but it was the Ferrari that came out on top. And that might be the best move of the day so far. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, it was lovely. That was a really, really solid move from a solid battle in between the pair of them, Ayamulo and Caracas there. But Caracas third position at the moment. Probably needs to do a similar sort of move on Pavlovsky, but at the moment it does seem as though Pavlovsky is running plenty fast enough. A little bit further down the order though, between Whitehead and Santoro, as Whitehead recently, obviously, did that super stint where he did the entirety of the 24 hours of the Nürburgring on ACC. It was a couple of months back now, wasn't it? Where he ended up finishing in third position, if I remember correctly, after doing the entire race by himself. It's disgusting.
I didn't even know that happened, to be completely honest with you there, mate. No idea.
Just imagine doing the entirety of the 24 hours of the Nürburgring by yourself, though. Yeah, exactly. And I know a few people that have given it a go, but to have done that on ACC and to have gotten a podium out of it on what was, I think it was like I think it's a 76, 86 car grid, something like that. It's a ridiculously large grid compared to what we normally see in sim racing for a lot of service stability and stuff. But yeah, very impressive drive from Whitehead. He needs to do something impressive here.
Yeah, 100%. That is a very impressive feat there, but that's something I'm not really sure I ever want to do. And I am in control of my own destiny, so I can tell you right now I'm not going to do it. Right, looking to battle with Santoro. Santoro kind of halted a little bit, was catching up to Tinko van der Velde. And if he was closing that gap still, I think Luke Whitehead would probably be quite happy to sit behind him and just sort of coast up towards the lead group, because these two are very fast indeed right now. But the fact that the gap's still about 4.8, has been for about 3 laps now, I think Whitehead, who doesn't need a second invitation, very similarly to Elvin Smith, doesn't need a second invitation to get involved in an overtake, will probably try and take this on as early as he possibly can.
Certainly so. And like I say, it's kind of just interesting about the preparations for the final stint of this race, and as to when they're going to make their moves, when they're going to make their pit stops. Obviously, we are still half an hour away from the majority of the pit window, as we're getting a big penalty here for car 39. That is, of course, the Veloce Vexed team collecting 3 license points in a single race. They'll grab themselves a drive-through. Yeesh.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is what it is. It's not a good day, unfortunately, there for the Veloce Vexed team. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. It's bad, not good. Just want to park the car, really, to be honest. Where how many penalties they've had, they're probably going right back down the order now, because they're not on the lead page, are they? Yes, not been a good day in the office.
No, but then some days, you have that. Obviously, it isn't the best way to start a season.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe not so good.
You didn't go for it. That's fine. It's all right. I respect how close you got. That's fine.
Hey, we've got to be PG today.
That's true. That is true. I will say, like I say, sometimes your season starts badly, right? And that's fine. But you've got to get your head straight out of the gutter. Right, there's no point in wallowing in it and staying in it, especially because the next race is not very far away, and it's a big one, right? We're doing this, and then we're going basically straight into the 24 hours of Spa, and it's only a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, that's worth more points as well.
Exactly.
So P1's worth 35 points today, but if you're P1 next time, that's 52.5. So if you can maybe salvage, a top 10 finish in this one, guarantee yourself some points, and there's every opportunity that you can recover that in the second race. But last season, Williams Esports had not won a race up until the last round. They'd been just a top 5 merchant. They were leading the championship, and ultimately then they finally got a victory. So consistency is absolutely king. You don't necessarily need to win every race. You just need to kind of maximize your position and just get points each and every week. That's the most important thing.
Exactly. Got to it's about being consistency. If you want to win this championship, it's about consistently being in the top 5. Williams Esports right now, they'll know. Running in 5th place. To be fair, it might not get any better for them this round, and I've seen Don Blair in chat. They don't feel the Mercedes is particularly ideal at the moment. Don't get me wrong, it's clearly not a dog, but maybe it's not. But this is the whole thing. Yeah, but you know what sim races are like, right? Oh, the car. This car's like 3/10 laps down. I'm just kind of like, sorry, you do see the other car that's right in front of the field, right?
I'm not sure they can really argue, unfortunately, when the actual car's leading. You kind of really not got a leg to stand on. And I love Dom. Dom's one of my favourite people in sim racing. He's a lovely guy. But you're wrong on this one.
For sure. But you can deal with the team coming at you after that one.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight Dom. He's hard as nails.
Didn't you win some brownie points with Williams by saying that by giving them your pick and saying all this good stuff about Williams? Suddenly you've ruined that by saying that they're wrong. Even though I actually completely agree. I mean, look, Mercedes is leading this race. You can't say the BOP's that bad for the Merc.
Fine, I'm hated by Veloce and now Williams. It's fine. I've got big shoulders. You move.
I'm sure there's other people that hate you as well.
Yeah, exactly. Simansky, by the way, we saw the Coach Dave car facing the wrong way earlier in this race. Now they're in the mid pack of this race, and there's no real mugs in this race. Everybody's pretty quick. So the fact that they've managed to go up to P27 is actually quite remarkable. 16 positions gained. They were right at the back after an incident with Michi Tauscher. So, credit where credit's due.
But I do wonder where their goal really is in this for the Coach Dave Academy team. Because, of course, do remember that with Castorino and with Pertolé, that they are the champions, of course, of the silver category. Yeah. And then when I kind of say that, sure, whilst they're in the pro category, I'm pretty sure they'll be keeping a little bit of a close eye on where they are compared to the silver category, just as kind of like a reference to where they are this season to last season. This race is not a good example of that, right? No. Because obviously they're incident. But still, I think that'll be an interesting thing to see throughout the season as to where they would be if they were a silver category driver. Because they'd be expecting, if they were to do silver again, they'd be expecting them to have to at least win again.
Yeah, Hubert has coasted onto the back here, by the way, of Reckon Wong. So I would imagine he's going to be overtaken very, very quickly. Car 72 and 104, lap 26. 10-second penalty for car 104, which is the Restec Reparto course there by Mayuma Plast. I think there's more letters after Plast, but it only says Plast in my leaderboard. So
that's true.
Maybe it's Plaster, Plasticine, Plastercast. Who knows? It might just be Plast.
It might just be. Maybe there's an entire sentence after that. I have tried breaking my own fair share of timesheets with various team names and such. The longest team name that I've ever had was the Artifact. It was Aurora Artifact Flag to Flag Calamity powered by RaceBot, which is the entire team name. That was a long one.
What did I have in DTM Trophy? I had Toyota Gazoo Racing, powered by, what was it? Powered by something, Team Germany.
Nice. I respect it.
It was a ridiculous name. So Tim Heinemann drove for it. It was like powered by Ring Racing, Team Germany.
That's a long name. Yeah, that's a big one. Sometimes you just got to go for it. Yeah, you just got to take a big one. Just got to take a big old name every now and then, and some teams like that. They just like cramming as much as they can in when it comes to particularly sponsorships and stuff. I mean, look, again, I've had my fair share.
You put that shovel down, Lewis. I'll save you. We move on.
It's not.
You keep going and going. But I'll help you out a little bit here. Stu Barauch, currently in the Lamborghini in P23. Oh, poor Lewis. He's just going further down the rabbit hole. Caracas now putting that pressure onto Pavlovsky. And Pavlovsky now 4.6 seconds behind Pfeffer, so he really has lost out a lot on this stint. And I don't want to discredit Pfeffer at all here, because Pfeffer did get pole position. He clearly is the fastest driver around this circuit in one-lap pace, and by the looks of this stint is the fastest driver in terms of long-run pace as well. But until Pavlovsky's been overtaken by Gratis Caracas, which I think might be about to happen, into the slipstream we go, along the grid we will go, across the start line, which will not be the finish line later on, down towards turn number 1. Does Caracas look to make a move? Well, it's the second part of this corner where he's very good, but the gap just didn't open up. Pavlovsky is going to keep it nice and tight. And as we come through the S's here, he's going to hold on. But Caracas, I think, needs to get this done sooner rather than later.
McLaren looks pretty good in a straight line there, at least compared to the Ferrari and the Lamborghini directly behind, because I was with you. I thought with the drive off from Caracas there, I thought that there was definitely going to be at least a look, or at least some form of lunge down into T1, but alas, Kamil Pavlovsky able to hang on and keep his eyes focused squarely on the road ahead. The 5-second time penalty that he'll have will only drop him back behind Tinko van der Velde. Should still be able to stay ahead of Santoro and Whitehead, of course, in their battle.
Santoro's closed it up, by the way, so it's now 4 seconds.
Oh, really?
They've got 8 tenths. So the smaller that gap gets, the more chance of Pavlovsky dropping a couple of positions, because Whitehead is hanging on to Santoro and just being dragged up towards those leaders. So, I think P1 might be out of the offering, but I genuinely believe that Santoro or maybe Whitehead, with their respective teams, might have a genuine opportunity at a second in this race, which would be quite ridiculous.
Be a very solid result. There is Luke Whitehead. Abeladze the next one behind, but obviously a little bit too far behind in the in that 255. Up there with one of my my more favourite. I actually do quite like the McLaren for the Veloce here that we've got. I do quite like this livery. I've always anything with green highlights on, or Dayglow yellow highlights.
I'm technically not allowed to say I like it, but I do secretly like it.
Do you? Yeah. No.
Don't tell them though. Be saying something nice.
I'm about it. I am about it.
Yeah, keep it a little secret.
It's fine. Look, I'll take it over a black and red livery. There's not many black and red liveries that I can deal with in sim racing, and yes, Redline is one of them that I can deal with. Don't worry. Don't you panic. Don't get your knickers in a twist before we get 1/3 of the way, or 2/3 of the way rather, through this race. Still got plenty of time. 20 minutes before the next set of pit stops. The more I'm looking, the more I kind of agree. I mean, the gap's grown a little bit between Santoro and Van der Velde, but still
in the final sector there. But if they continue, Santoro does continue to catch up like he has been. If you're Whitehead, there's no real rush now to make an overtake. There's no real rush to make a risky attempt to lose and then potentially lose a load of time. Abeladze, you would assume he's also going to catch up. These three look like they're going very, very quickly right now. And with Pavlovsky definitely struggling, the gaps being, 3 tenths to Caracas and 4 tenths further back to Ayamulo, Tinko van der Velde 1.9 seconds back. There is every reason to suggest that these might be in this second stint. In golf terms, this is like moving day. This is like the Saturday, isn't it? The second stint is moving your team into a position to take advantage and potentially get a very strong race result. But this is your battle for second in the pros. They are now, 4.5 seconds behind Pfeffer, who leads the way. And then you've got the leaders for the AM class, or the silver class, should I say. Makovkin, who's currently in the number 138, only 3 tenths clear of Mollinger. And then you've got Philadelphus, who is in 4 tenths further back. I think I've just nailed his name for the first time ever in my sim racing commentary. I'm not going to say it again, but the driver in the number 6 is very close to the lead of the silvers.
I mean, I'm not going anywhere near it, so you can have that for the entirety of your commentary run here in
hey, we'll take the little wins when we can.
Absolutely. I mean, look, this battle's still pretty close, but at the moment, Pfeffer's just checked out. Obviously, it will come down to who's behind the wheel for the third and final stint for this. Of course, Pfeffer will hand off rather to Hoban, who is arguably, well, I say arguably, is the weakest driver in that car, but let's be honest, they're all really fast. So it's like, He's maybe like half a tenth slower, but he's still the same speed, basically. So it's whatever. But I would say arguably the 3 is probably on paper the weakest, but he can do the job, so no worries. Obviously, Pavlovsky will hand over to Reuters. I know, like you were saying about the McLaren, the Veloce McLaren car there in 7th. Obviously, got to hand over to Eamon Murphy, another driver who's won the championship here in IGTC. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't know which way it's going to go for the final stints of this race. I don't feel it's going to be a particularly calm run into the checkered flag, though.
No, I think it's going to get spicy, that's for sure. I would say that Whitehead and Boothby would be the stronger drivers on the Veloci team, just because Eamon has been splitting his time between sims. That's the only reason. Obviously, Eamon's another one of those drivers who's been around forever. I believe he started on Forza. I first came across him on Project Cars, competed against him actually on Project Cars many moons ago. But yeah, because he has split his time over the last sort of 12 months across sims, it makes it very difficult for him to be competitive at the very sharp end. But there's a reason why his name's been around for nearly 10 years in sim racing, is because he is that good. It's very rare. Well, there's very little people that are able to compete at the top level across multiple sims. He's very, that talented that he is one of those drivers. So I think, Whitehead needs to get ahead of Santoro here for the track position and then see what happens. Tinker van der Velde, by the way, is now starting to close up a little bit. Yeah, he is. So he's taking 0.4 of a second now out of that gap to Ayamulo. So maybe Williams starting to deploy the strategy that they did have last season, where the second half of the stint they started to fly. I think Tinko has been told to take the shackles off.
Yeah, indeed. And so clearly the BOP very much against the Mercedes there, the fact of them being pretty quick and closing up towards the end of the stint. God heavens, it's so hard for them. But obviously, joking aside, I think you're absolutely right. Tinko van der Velde closing up to this grouping. Could it be a Mercedes 1-2 in the race? I mean, I've got to say, the MSI Esports team definitely... I wouldn't quite call it a hand, but yeah, there are a few fingers on the trophy for the victory here at Suzuka this evening. But again, with that final pit stop, until that's done, and we'll see the gap between them there, that's where we'll start to see a bit more of a clearer picture. Do remember as well, Tinko van der Velde will be in the pit lane realistically earlier than the rest of the grouping ahead.
Yeah, this is a game, Cerno. I can't say the name sexily like the Italians can, but this is Assetto Corsa Competizione. Yeah, that was the least sexy way of saying it possible. There's many Italians out there going, what is wrong with this guy? And I'm comfortable with that. But yeah, this is ACC, which is a video game. Which it looks pretty good, doesn't it? Looks pretty realistic. So the gap now coming down as these three battle ahead for P2. Tinker van der Velde may be able to just creep up behind her, but look very closely, and we actually saw it in the rear shot there, Santoro and Whitehead are closing up, although Santoro may be just losing a bit of time here. I think Tinko has been told, you go, you just give all you can now, use all of the tyres and see where you can position yourself. I think the battle really is for P2. I think the MSI team, the Mercedes-AMG MSI team, are pretty much without a big catastrophic error, maybe in the pits or out on track or back market gets involved, they are going to win this race. They put the hard work in now. It's all about just making sure that they do indeed continue to consolidate that position. Yeah,
it's 100% theirs to lose. Realistic with the position that they've put themselves into. Obviously, it was an excellent opening stint there from Gronewold, but Pfeffer over the last 45 minutes has been absolutely world class.
Here we go. This is the battle then for second position. Pavlovsky does have a 5-second penalty, so this will be done regardless at the pit stop phase. Karakas has been told, well, we've seen you go around up the inside for a move in towards turn number 2. What about the outside? Well, he didn't take the bait this time round. He actually decided against it, and I was expecting to see a bit of a send there, but it does look like the McLaren struggles through this part of the circuit. But in a straight line, it just has enough poke to be able to keep that Ferrari at bay.
Yeah, there might not be purely down to the car. There could be set up and approach to it. Obviously, these are open setups. They can do as they see fit with the cars. It's not as if they're locked to what the car is. But realistically speaking, whether it is the car itself, whether it's the setup that they've brought to it, that ITB car is pretty quick in a straight line compared to the Ferrari directly behind. It seems to manage itself pretty well down into turn 1. I agree with you, though, going through the S section, going through the corners, whether it's Pavlovsky or the car itself, there seems to be a few struggles with keeping that car well within the window of the racetrack and the times that it needs to be aiming at to close the gap down to Tobias Pfeffer, or more so, rather, to keep Caracas at bay. It's not easy, but the Scuderia Ferrari is kind of lingering there. But there's not been a single mistake out of Pawlowski right now. He's been very, very solid. He's been keeping his eye on the prize, and he just needs to survive another 12 to 14 minutes, and then his day is over, and he'll hand it over to his teammate.
Yeah, I will throw one thing out there for you. Williams, they have forfeited any kind of change of strategy now. They have to go long because they came in early. So, this might work out maybe not in their favour, because if they catch up to this now, they cannot then decide to come in early and try and jump the traffic by getting clear air. So they're kind of a little bit stuck. I think they might have made the decision to come in early last time to try and jump them. It just hasn't worked out that way. This is where it becomes a case of, that Williams are going to be staying out longer than the 4 cars out in the lead. But if we're talking about the lead, it's 5.3 seconds now from Pfeffer to Pawlowski. Pawlowski will have to serve a 5-second penalty for the third driver to get into the car, which will happen in the next sort of 15 to just under 20 minutes. Caracas then in the Ferrari, who made a beautiful move on the Lamborghini for third spot. He's about 3/10 behind Pawlowski. Then we've got Ayamulo, who is in the Lamborghini, 3/10 further back, and then Tinker Van der Velde, who is reeling in that group in front, and actually he's extending the gap to Santoro. Santoro, I think he might have overheated his tyres. I think he's pushed a little bit too hard, and now the gap's coming out a bit longer. And Luke Whitehead's actually dropped to be about a second behind Santoro. So those two, for me, were both really pushing. But the one team that aren't worried about anything other than what they're up to, it is Tobias Pfeffer in the lead car as it stands, in the Mercedes AMG Esports Team MSI, in the number 86, doing a great job as it stands.
And whilst they're running away for the race lead, it's not the only battle that we've got for a race lead on the circuit. Of course, if you go back into the silver category, Makovkin, Mollinger, and
they are close.
Fidelibus, very close. The top 3 in silver. You've got an Aston, you've got a Ford, and you've got a Lambo.
I'm sorry,
my
Lewis.
There. Wasn't
you
good.
said something completely different to what his name is there.
Yeah,
and it could get you in trouble. It's not the kind of bus I want to be on, I can tell you that right now. Makovkin leading the way then from Mollinger. We're on Bordeaux with Mollinger, who is the meat in the sandwich of the silvers right now. Then they've got the Renwelton car of Klinkmuller, who's kind of been involved in this battle the whole race, and it's kind of a tough one. Do you want to make a move and try and move up, or risk potentially getting contact, or are you happy where you are? Pick up the points, take your medicine, move on to the next race, of course, being, where are they the next time around? It's Spa, right? Yeah, 24 hours of Spa. Heading off to the big race of the season. I'll say that's probably the main race of the season. We have got the Nürburgring, which is quite new to the service. Instant between car 45 and 52, we have got a final warning to car 45. Oh, that's a little slap on the wrist. No more of that, and you're going to get yourself a penalty.
Yeah, that's a little bit further down the order in the silver category. It's where the 45 is. Just a little, I say, just a final. We don't typically see that many final warnings, but being told by race control to stop doing what you're doing and drive within the rules. Thank you very much. The 21 also picks up a time penalty for aggressive driving. 5 seconds time penalty for them. For Klinkmuller, for Niox as well. Yeah, they're sat behind this thinking about how they can work their way through and go after some more positions. Although 13 seconds down the road, I think the likelihood of them catching up to Abladze is probably quite low. So I think it is the battle between the pair of them. I'm actually kind of surprised that BS Competition haven't got a penalty yet after the issue that.
Well, no, I think that's probably what they did get the penalty, right? And that's what dropped them down to where they are now. So we tried to figure out whether it's damage or a penalty. I think they might have already served it. So,
see, I thought it was Niox behind the wheel when they did, but yeah, we actually don't know when that is. Yeah. We saw a replay of the incident, but we don't actually know when it happened and who was behind the wheel. So that could be a good point.
And I remind you guys, 43 cars, 129 different drivers. We've got a lot to remember.
It's true, and our memories are not big. I only just got reminded by you that there's some golf on today. As there comes the move from Renwelton.
Oh. Well, no, he did send it down into Kobayashi, and he's not clear. Now he is clear. So, yeah, there we go. Renwelton have decided to try and come through, and I think you'll find that Niels Naujoks will try and get this done as soon as possible. He'll try and tag. Well, that is actually a very clever decision there from the number 6. And again, I'm not going to say the name just in case I get myself into trouble. But yeah, he just backs out and decides, you know what, you boys going to crack on. And I think what he's going to hope is, that they get aggressive with the other silvers and he can take advantage.
God, you're starting to be careful on that. There's a few drivers' names that you got to keep well aware of and just away from. But that's fine. Each of their own. Grantis Caracas into the first corner. A little bit of a mistake there from Pavlovsky, who's gone out just a touch wide there at turn 1. Just touching the curb there on the left-hand side. Almost getting pulled off the circuit was Pavlovsky, as Grantis Caracas has to settle for 3rd position. The Lamborghini behind in 4th, and I think you're right, you kind of pointed him out a little bit. Tinko van der Velde, looming large in the background, has closed right the way back in. So that lap time has worked out very much in favour of the Williams Esports driver.
Yeah, it's frantic. It's frantically close here, but I just think Caracas is going to start to run out of patience. I think he's going to realise very, very quickly that he has to get this done. If he's got any kind of intentions of winning this race, he has to start closing that gap to Pfeffer and not be stuck behind Pavlovsky. Pavlovsky makes a little mistake there, but it's a place where he can afford to make a mistake because it's so difficult to make any kind of overtake. But Tinko van der Velde now is closing in. So the final stint's going to be very interesting here. You would imagine that Nicholas Huben's going to be right bang up for it with a big advantage out in the lead of this race. But have Williams got anything to throw at them? You can see there Tinko's smiling. He's having a great time by the looks of things.
I've got someone in the YouTube chat complaining about your commentary. I say complain. No, I say complaining. It's definitely not. The pronunciation of ACC was pretty spot on, actually. Signed an Italian.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
It's my mum again. Isn't it?
So you've got a lot of accounts on YouTube,
she's got
mate.
loads of accounts.
Me.
She's kept me in the job for 10 years, mate.
I was going to say, how many subscribers have you got? Is it all her?
Yeah.
Goodness me. It's that or Enzo Benito, let's be honest, as
wow.
we head back down the hill.
Enzo's been teaching me Italian. Little private lessons. It was his birthday yesterday, by the way. So
Yeah, no, I only realised after ESLR1, I was very disappointed because I would like to have said that on broadcast. Give a little bit of a shout out to your hero, of course. I know you love him.
Yeah, no, I can't hide my affection for Enzo Benito. He's a beautiful man.
Bless him. Well, he's not in this race, so it's fine. We can move on from him pretty swiftly. I'd like to see him back on ACC. It's been a while since he's jumped onto the platform. Not sure he's a huge fan, just because he's more of an iRacing or now Rennsport-based driver, of course. As the lead gaps continues to grow. Excellent stuff from Pfeffer. This is an epic stint for him to have pulled out 6 seconds. Crazy.
There's stints that you just remember in a series where you just go, that was special. And this will be one I remember this year. It's happened in the first race. Normally it takes a couple of races really to find that. But yeah, Pfeffer's put in to gap a group by 6 seconds, of this level is outstanding. I know Camille's not quite at it, but he's managed to keep hold of P2. So he's not, completely bang off the pace. These drivers here behind him are, if he was really slow, they'd be making an overtake. Very, very simple there. So yeah, Pfeffer has put in a magical stint here. It's one that might end up winning the race for the team out in the lead.
Certainly so, but only 65 minutes, or 66 really, minutes left to go in the race. So the pit window is not open really yet. An hour and 6 is a little bit too tight, but realistically, at the end of the next lap is when you'll be able to pick, because we did see a few people in the first stint go an hour and 4 minutes. Which, of course, if you can do some quick maths, if you're able to work it out. But after another lap of racing, which is just under 2 minutes, there'll be about less than an hour and 4 minutes left to go in the race. So you can pit and make it to the end. The wonderful world of mathematics.
Yeah, certainly.
It's a genius play.
Yeah. Like nothing better than self-proclaiming yourself as a genius.
Thank you.
The best way of doing it.
It's true though. I just can't help it. But yeah, it's fine.
We've got a real healthy battle now, by the way, for that P1 in the AM class. That is the closest battle on circuit right now. Then you've got a couple of pro cars that are in between. Then there's battle for P3. We've got Fidelibus and we've got Inestrosa and we've got Lay all battling there for that P3, the final podium spot in the Silvers. But yeah, Makovkin and Mollinger are very close as well. So here we go. Maybe an opportunity here. So Kamil Pavlovsky under the pressure down towards the Degners. And well, sometimes in a race like this, you've got to shock a driver into a move and maybe take someone on where they're least expecting it. And maybe Kobayashi corner is that corner. Is Caracas close enough? I don't think he is. But around then the right-hand curve, and he is, again, not quite close enough, and Camille would have covered that off if they were. He's going to run a little bit wide, but again, it's not the worst position to be in because of the camber on the corner. You still get a good drive, and actually you can get the power down a little bit earlier by running wide, and Camille Pavlovsky still holding on firm. And Caracas, I tell you now, 12 months ago, he would have got very frustrated and made some silly move and maybe cost himself a good finish in a race. But this is a seasoned veteran now, I'd say, or much more mature driver. Always had the pace, but to see him driving like this and not making any rash decisions, he is almost a finished article. Really nice to see.
Yeah, indeed. There's a 5-second time that comes out for the 996, so a little bit further down the order. There's a penalty. I did say this a little bit earlier on in the broadcast. I think you were stepping aside for a private moment, the lavatory. I think Caracas, I'd argue, has been the driver that has switched the most teams in ACC as there comes into the pit lane Pavlovsky. So the early pounce of Pavlovsky, and I think Van der Velde might also come in at the same time. He can go probably a lap longer, but still. I think Caracas has driven for the most different teams, though, in the last 2 or 3 years in ACC.
Yes, he's driven for Veloce. I know that. Yep. He's driven for Ferrari now, but there's a couple of STB I remember him maybe being a part of. Oh, number 996. 3 license points in a single race. That is impressive, if nothing else.
Yeah, second team to have fulfilled that one, because the Veloce Vex team also picked that one up already. So another drive-through penalty being dished out courtesy of getting under the eye of race control a few too many times. Yeah, I think Caracas, he's also driven for a couple of other teams. I can't remember, but I feel there's a list in the last 3 years, because I've only been doing comps in ACC for since 21, and I'm pretty sure in that time I've seen him for about 4, maybe 5 different teams. And as I said earlier on, it's for 3, 4, 5 different teams that have been at the front of fields, and you don't do that. Yeah, sure, it might be a bit of hot seating and stuff, but you don't do that unless you're good. Right, you don't constantly appear at front-running teams unless you're really good.
That's a really good point. You mentioned that Tinker would have to come into the pits. He can't, can he? They have to, because they did the early stop in the last one, they have to kind of extend it here. So I would imagine they go to the top. It'll be this lap or the next lap. They'll have to go to the top of the hour, but at least they're comfortably going to be within that stint rule for the final stint. And yeah, we're just going to start to see cars firing into the pits now. But Tobias Pfeffer, 6.2 seconds in the lead. We go back to see Caracas. This will be interesting. Caracas with that clear track, it was 6.2. We're about to see it change in the top left-hand corner of your screen. It's still 6.2. So Caracas definitely has the pace to be with Pfeffer, and Pavlovsky has definitely held them up. But I will say one thing. Pavlovsky's got married in the last week. He's won the Racing Prodigy in America. He was away for a couple of weeks in America, and yet and that was real driving and on other sims. It wasn't even on ACC. For him to then come back and be competitive and hold on to P2 in this field, that is still an incredible stint. I think his team will be very happy with him.
And he had to see our junior as well. That's enough to scare the speed out of anyone. As Tinko van der Velde comes into the pit lane down the hill. Hour and 1 minute left to go. The rest of them will be pitting in fairly shortly. We can see Niels Nyx, who did pick up a time penalty. We were expecting it, so it must have been a damage repair on the first stint, and now they have to deal with a longer pit stop courtesy of an extra 10-second time penalty, courtesy of the move that Nyx did. So there we go. We do actually have an answer now that it was Nyx in the replay. We weren't sure, but now we know.
Yep, there we go. So the penalty has been confirmed there. So yeah, we're just investigative journalists at this point of this race, trying to figure out what's going on. But yeah, there's just action aplenty all over the show. So yeah, Niels will. How far will he drop back here? He actually might drop only one position, I think. Eder. He'll obviously lose out to the AM driver behind him, but he'll lose out to Eder as well, or the team will lose out to Eder, should I say, because of that. Yeah, I don't think anybody else is going to gain any positions. Igor Rodriguez, by the way, is into the car then for Williams. Did they manage to close up the gap by going that extra lap, though? That is the big question. It'd be great to see the merge between Rodriguez and see whether he is anywhere near the ITB car. He was about a second and a half behind them, maybe a little bit more than that. But ultimately, we're not seeing exactly where they are. So Rodriguez is ahead of Szymanski. Yes, he's ahead of Szymanski. So what's happened there then? So the number 38 is the Coach Dave Academy car. Okay, so no, I don't know what I'm talking about here. So of course they would be ahead of them. So Rodriguez, where is he?
He's actually dropped back
ahead of Rotters
now. Yeah,
he's ahead of Rotters. Yeah, he has actually jumped Rotters there. So he's jumped the ITB car. They have, of course, because they had the penalty, didn't they? So he was naturally going to. Yeah, there we go. So that's figured out. Trying to do live maths is unbelievable. But yeah, no. So because of the penalty, of course, he is going to jump in. Yeah, the gap isn't as big as I thought it might be. But yeah, that's P5 now for the ITB car, and that will put Santoro and potentially Whitehead with an opportunity of catching up to the ITB car and battling for that top 5.
Well, the top 5 have just come into the pit lane. Luke Whitehead becomes the race leader, which makes sense because George Boothby went long on the first stint as well. So I'm sure Whitehead will be doing very much the same thing again before he hands over to Eamon Murphy. Now we'll be talking about the race lead and how things are going to switch out. Well, I say the race lead, second place more so, and whether Igor Rodriguez is going to be throwing himself back into the mix for it. Seen some very impressive stints from the Brazilian in the last few years. Will this be another one? Can he chuck the Williams car up into potential contention for the podium?
Yeah, we're about to find out the merge here. Again, he's not going to be anywhere near Huben. Nicholas Huben is now into the car, so they're going to be leaving the pits. Oh, God, there's a Coach Dave car, I think. We're going rogue. They're into the pits. That would have had his life flash before his eyes. I tell you what, this is going to be a lot closer than I thought. This is going to be a lot closer than I thought. To Nicholas Huben, if they'd had a bad stop. So as we come then through turn number 1, the Williams car has caught up to the Lamborghini Esports. There's the Ferrari Esports. And actually, no, I was a little bit, I got a little bit too excited there. The MSI car, AMG Mercedes car, is still in the lead, quite comfortably into the lead. And what is the gap? Well, we're about to find out in a minute. It will figure itself out next time they cross the timing beam. As we've got Luke Whitehead now coming through Spoon Curve. And I believe this will be the lap where they come in. And then Eamon Murphy will get into the car and finish off this race.
Theoretically speaking, they could actually go one lap longer. I don't think they will because I don't think there's much to gain from it, but they can actually go one lap longer with them going an hour and 4 minutes in the first stint in the hands of George Boothby. Let's see what Whitehead does. Maybe they want to have an extra lap in the lead of the race, just good for the sponsors and all that kind of stuff. Let's see what Whitehead does. Coming through the final corner, he's going to stay out. So they're going to take the maximum allocation of lead laps they possibly can get away with here. Will Whitehead trying to go for I say it is trying to go for a shorter stint. It actually won't make any difference because they're more limited by the tyres on the stop. That's what's making it a 30-second stop, basically. It's the tyre change rather than the fuel.
Do you know what's more impressive than 3 license points being used in one single race? 4. Right. And that trophy goes to car 39, of course. They've got themselves a stop-go 30 penalty. It has been the jungle for the number 39.
What a disastrous way to start the season for the. There you go.
Oh, there it is.
Popping up for you. It's just terrible. I mean, the thing is though, is I remember doing a championship where I got told that having the amount of license points that you had in the season, it was a 12-round season and we had 10 license points. You get 1 license point for being involved in the penalty. So and this is a touring car season as well. So it was 3 races a night. Blah blah blah. And people were telling me like 10 license points isn't enough for what is a 36 race season. And my response to that was, I'm like, if you're getting a penalty 1 every 3 races, you're not learning. And so in that sense, I don't think that's too harsh, having stop and go 34 penalties here. If you're getting 4 penalties in 2 hours, like, come on, you're not learning there. We love the love Sean Arnold, love the Vlotchev X team, fair enough, and George and all the drivers in Vlotchev. George isn't in the car, but that's just poor. That's just poor.
Yeah, well, they'll have to have a conversation with the drivers when they and just sort of figure out where they went wrong there. Because if you got 4, if you can't stop go 30, it's just in a 3-hour race, it's not good. There's a fundamental issue there for sure. But I've been involved in many incidents where it's not my fault, and multiple times in a single race as well. So who knows? I guess there is 2 sides to the story. Yeah. But ultimately, they've got a stop go 30 penalty. That's something that is 100% happening. Luke Whitehead is not coming into the pits then, so extending once again, but will have to come in the next time of asking.
Yeah, indeed. So clearly they've saved enough fuel just to keep themselves out front, and like I say, it's probably not going to net them much position-wise in the race, but it's always good to see. They've driven quite well. Maybe they'll be able to do a bit of an overcut based on the amount of pace. They've clearly got some plenty of pace in hand. Whitehead's driving really nicely at the moment, but as I say, at the end of this lap, we'll see the rest of the contingent come through, and the race leader will become Hoban once again. And the gap between themselves and Harteveld is 6.5 seconds now. So the gap has even grown further for the MSI Esports team, thus confirming, I think this now 100% is one hand on the trophy.
Yeah. Right now they've got to deal with now 30 laps left in this race. Well, even less than that to be fair. But yeah, let's just say 30 laps in this race. If they lose a tenth of a second a lap, it's 3 seconds. They can afford to lose 2/10 of a second a lap, but that just isn't realistic, is it? They are that closely matched that, yeah, if anything, Hubin might even be a little bit faster. So it's very difficult to believe that anybody's going to go out there and stop them apart from themselves. But at this stage of the race is where you start to come across some back markers. Some of the slower silver class cars will start to get involved here. So that's where, things can go awry. So if you're Nicholas Hubin, you've been given the tools, you've been given the opportunity to go out there and win this race. It's now just all about making sure you do that. If you lose a couple of seconds here and there from, not getting involved with back markers or, not taking any chances, the difference between finishing across the line 100th of a second and 10 seconds is exactly the same result. It's P1.
Yep, still get the same points for it. Yes, I mean, a win's a win at the end of the day. What was it that Dom Toretto once said? So it doesn't win by something about, I don't know, honestly I don't know. It was a mumble that he was saying. It was something about winning about a mile or something, I don't know, who knows. Either way, I'll move straight on from that point because no one cares about Fast and Furious. Luke Wyatt into the pit lane. Mazza will also be in the pit lane, as will Tadell, so it will pass over the race lead to Hoban, and I think we should have a petition. I think we should rename him. I think you're right. It's time. Tobias Hoban.
Yeah, well, why not? To be fair, Matza, by the way, is in the lead officially. So let's give him at least a lap led here. So it's not Felipe Massa, it's Matza. So yeah, the number 11. I don't know if they're going to quite get a led lap here, actually. Be interesting to see if they do get one. No, Whitehead, I think, might have crossed the line. Yeah, Matza does still end up in second, but once they get to the second timing beam, will be officially in the lead. So the number 11 will officially have led a lap here, or at least a couple of sectors here in our first round of the Intercontinental GT World Challenge 2024.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I can't recall many times in the IGTC that we've had a silver car lead at any point. We've had them run, up in the top 10 and put on some solid performances, but actually leading a lap of a race, I think that's pretty rare. If it's ever happened before, you have to go into the history books to find that one. Obviously, it's not definitely has happened at the end of the race. Surely,
to be fair, quite a few times in all fairness, but not with the name Raggioli. Raggioli Esports. That's a great name.
Great name.
Maybe the best team name to ever lead.
I can't think of any better team or more catchy team names that would have led. There is that, but we probably should return very quickly to the best livery on the grid discussion very quickly, because the more I'm thinking about it, the more I am leaning towards this one. There's a little bit too much white in the rear end for me, but I think the colours and stuff and the asymmetric design, I actually do like the 255 livery. Yeah,
you've got the two leading contestants for me out there right at the front. So you've got the Firefly car as well, just in front of them. As we look on board with Eamon Murphy. Eamon right in behind Aslan, and with a 5-second penalty for Aslan, they've got a pit again as well. So Eamon will be hoping they just get out of the way, but it's just not as simple as that. This is officially for position, so there's not really much we can write home about. But it looks like we have got some replays then from the first 2 hours. So let's try and figure out exactly what has happened in the first couple of hours. So here is the race start. Of course, the number 86, they have led from start to finish as it stands. They're running down towards turn number 1, and they just jump straight across there. The Scuderia Ferrari Esports team, and they've been there ever since. So yeah, very impressive indeed there from the Mercedes team. So they're coming through the S's, and again, it's just a bit of a formality. No one really pushing. There's a couple of visitors behind, but ultimately it was just a perfect drive. We get a lovely look then at the number 138, making a move there on the BS competition car, just opening up a gap through turn number 1 and then making it stick through turn number 2. And actually, by the time they come into the S's, which we've seen a couple of times where the cars have run side by side for a few corners, ultimately they've actually got the job done. Here's the overtake from the Firefly team. They are in the number 77, a similar position. But like I said earlier, we've seen some overtakes where it just continues and continues. Seville holding on that outside line, and it just wasn't as easy for the Firefly team in the Aston Martin to get the job done as it was in the previous overtake from the number 138. But ultimately, it was the same outcome in the end. We've now got an overtake down into towards the final chicane there from the number 44 in the Lamborghini. A bit of a check-up, though, from behind, and all of a sudden you're being hounded by a Porsche. Now we're looking at a move here from the BS competition car, the number 89, sending it down the inside there into the final chicane and successfully making up a position. Now we're looking on board with the number 50. Well, actually, sorry, we're looking on board with the BS competition car here. They had a bit of contact in towards turn number 1, and ultimately that would have been what caused the penalty for Niels Nayox and his crew. They had a 10-second penalty that they had to serve at the last pit stop, although might actually be a case of that they have to serve it still. We'll have to look at that once we next get back in. We had Lamborghini Esports try and make a move for P2 on ITB, and wow, Grantas Caracas was looking in the background thinking, well, if you're not going to make something happen, I'm absolutely going to make something happen. And the Scuderia Ferrari Esports team, or Scuderia should I say, then decided to make a move on the Lamborghini and said, thank you very much, I'll have P3. But Kamil Pavlovsky in the ITB car did not blink the whole stint, as we see ascend then from the number 72 down in towards Kobayashi. And as they come out on the exit, you think, oh, the Lamborghini's going to bite back here. Didn't do so, and the move was perfectly configured. So that's what's happened, the most notable things over the last 2 hours. But the most notable thing, realistically, is that Nicholas Huben is in the lead of this race. They qualified on pole position via Tobias Pfeffer, and Mercedes AMG Esports team, who are now dealing with back traffic. Looks like a police car in front, by the way. They are now in the lead.
Yeah, and the gaps looking pretty solid. Obviously, Huben having 6.6 back to Chris Hartveld, who's got a second back to Savini and the likes behind. So there are some relatively large gaps in all of that. So it's pretty solid. But like I say, it's looking like MSI might have one hand and maybe even a couple of fingers on the second hand now on the trophy here for the first victory of the evening. But it's not where the only battling has been happening on the circuit. Of course, in silver here, this is the battle for second position. Porco Gapelt as well, who we're looking at riding on board with in the GT Racing Esports car. Of course, the Mustang, the mighty Mustang, returning to GT3 Racing. Big gaps. So back to the next one, because they were running, I think, in second and third in the silver category for a little while with the two Mustangs, but that's definitely not the case at the moment. Just a single one up there is the 138 that's currently leading within the silver category. But like I say, it's just how things have unfolded. It's calmed down a lot for the start of the final stint. Just 46 minutes left to go in the race. Whether things will remain calm up towards the checkered flag, well, that'll have to be seen before we can jump to any conclusions. Samira Brahimi closing in on all this as well in that Red Welton car. Not for position, it is sure for an overall position, but no extra points for Brahimi in the Red Welton car to make that move. If he does go for it, fair enough. You'll finish in a higher position overall, but is running 9th in the pro category anyway. So realistically speaking, all is good for the Red Welton team anyway. So it's kind of there's nothing really to gain from going for the move on the 3 silvers. So I just has to, I guess, wait until the checkered flag comes around and just keep things all good, really. Will Samira Brahimi, obviously, to be fair, got to say the 717 Frank's not that far behind, and so any major dramas in this grouping, and I guess he might be caught and might drop out of the top 10, but at the moment things seem fairly settled.
Yeah, it certainly does. This is a lovely little battle here for P2 in the silver class. Out in front in the number 138, 2.5 second gap now for the number 138. They've got Kalashnikov in the car now for CRT.pro. So yeah, Makovkin and Gunin, they've both done their job, and they've been so good from start to finish in this race. They've been very, very strong, and definitely one of the strongest silver cars. Of course, we've had a couple of silver cars that maybe have not had the best of races in terms of incidents. But yeah, in terms of standout performances, they have been very strong, and that's why they're in the lead of the race. I guess there's not really another way to put it. They deserve to be in the lead because they're the fastest. Yeah, indeed, and have been just dominated. I will say for the race lead overall, Chris Harveld's closed down a little bit. I don't think it's going to be closed down enough, but if that Mercedes is having some issues with its long distance running, then maybe there might be a little bit more to
deal with. The 38 gets a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. I think that is the Veloce Academy car, if I remember correctly, without checking on the old
Coach
sheets.
Dave Academy car. It's an Academy car. You were right with one word, so we'll give you half a point.
Damn. What number is the Veloce Academy car? That's the question I've got to ask. Oh, 711. Not even close. Even close. I can take nothing from that. Sorry.
Yeah, well, if you haven't received a penalty in this race, you probably haven't tried hard enough the way it's been going today. People have, it's like the first day of school, and I love the strictness, actually, of the stewards. They've really come out and set a precedent today that if you mess around, you're going to get a pretty serious penalty. Not that any of the real leaders, apart from Camille, actually, well, I guess it wasn't Camille that got the penalty, it was Jakob Osterman. But the ITB car, they found out with a 5-second penalty as we see a lunge then from our leaders, and it's always a bit of a precarious position to be in there because you're not really sure what the back marker car is going to do. Are they going to defend it and hope that you make the overtake on them, or are they then going to close the door, not realizing you're going to send it? Luckily, they are all good in the hood right now, and Hubin survives that one. They've lost a bit of time though, so now the gap 5.9 seconds, and I think by the time they get through the next timing beam or the next sector, that would have come down a little bit more. So maybe Chris Hartevelt in that Ferrari, maybe just a slim opportunity that we might see a battle for the race win. I think it's very slim, but there is a chance.
Yeah, the thing is, I think that gap has shrunk down slightly, courtesy of the it goes down to 5.8. It's come down slightly purely because the MSI cars had to navigate traffic. The traffic which Harteveld is going to have to deal with in the Scuderia Ferrari as well. So unless he gets maybe a little bit more fortuitous through traffic, the gap will probably grow back to a similar sort of margin. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe there is a little bit of hope, but with 42 minutes left, at this kind of level, 42 minutes and 6 seconds of gap to close down, it's not likely. It's really, really unlikely. But you never know.
No. You see it chased down in real racing, real GT racing quite often. It's not, but at this, in sim racing, it's so much more competitive at the top end. There are just, there are hundreds of drivers that are within tenths of each other, where you just can't say the same in real racing. That there's half a second between that same sample of drivers. And again, I'm not trying to diminish anything in the real world of racing, right? It's just they cannot go out there and do 1,000 laps in a couple of days, right? They have to wait until they have track time. It's a lot more expensive to do so it's a lot more accessible in sim racing. So yeah, that's why it is so much more competitive at the sharp end of our sport. We get a lovely look then of Hartevelt, and I will say the esports jerseys, of course it will be always top dollar for the for Ferrari. They're Italian. They're right near the capital of fashion. So of course it's always going to be pretty smart. But yeah, their tops are really, really nice.
Where do I get a red line top? That's the question. You have to go sort that one out for me. I've been trying for years, but whilst you speak of sim racing,
I worked for them, and it took me a fair amount of time.
Yeah, I bet it did. I sorry, this is completely off topic. I bumped into Luke Bennett last week at Donington Park, obviously for British GT, and he said, "Oh, you can have one of mine." And I was like, "Oh, right." And he was like, I don't think you'll fit in it." The speed that he just looked me dead in the eye and was like, "I don't think you'll fit in it." I'm just like, that is, very true.
Oh,
but
he's become very funny very quickly, is old Bennett.
Bless him.
Yeah, he's very quick-witted.
Very annoying. It's disgusting, in fact. But whatever. I was going to say, when it came to your point, by the way, about drivers and sim racing and the competitiveness, if you were to look at a lot of GT racing, a lot of it is gentleman racing. There's a pro driver and there's a gentleman, normally speaking, within a car. Typically speaking, you don't get like 3 absolute top tier platinum gold level drivers all in the same car that are all in the same pace, that have all been able to do hundreds
only
and hundreds,
the sort of top 5-6 cars at the Nürburgring or Spa, maybe top 10 cars. The real pro series is a real pro series, but it's not. This here we've got 20. Well, you could argue the whole grid really is real strong level.
Yeah. and consistent level. Like I say, it's also the fact of you're absolutely spot on. I spoke to a couple of drivers that did the Bathurst 12-hour years ago, and they said the amount of practice they got in that was about 5 or 10 laps. As Felix Tansvino-Hacker is going to go to the outside of McWilliam, of course, the Williams Esports Academy car. I know Felix is quite close with the Williams Esports Academy team, as he's good mates with the likes of Charlie Crossland and of course Dara McCormack, but trying to work his way past the Williams, trying to find any sort of move. Also has to deal with the Ford Mustang behind.
Yeah, down towards turn one, they're going to come. The Williams Academy car gets across the defender. That will now leave them open to a potential move up the inside. And, well, the Lamborghini, number 44, follows them through. Bit of door banging as the 104 is going to make their way through. They're not quite done yet. But I'll tell you what, the Ford Mustang has now got it nailed. So an opportunistic move. We've seen that a few times today where if someone can't get it done in towards turn one, if you've got someone very close behind you, ultimately they will take full advantage. Well, there is your case in point. You just saw it.
Yep, that was some pretty elbows out racing, and that was exciting. I'm sure we're not done with that style of stuff over the next 38 minutes. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more proper elbows out, fully committed driving, as we'll stare at De Campo trying to keep Noldy at bay. This is for 4th position in the silver category. I'd argue they're a little bit too far behind any chance of grabbing a silver podium, but to be fair, the battle for second in silver is pretty tight. You never know. An instant at this point in the race can really open up the opportunity for anyone to sneak their way through.
Yeah, it's that close, Lewis, that if someone makes a mistake, and you've only got 3.3 seconds between the top 3 in a race, if you're the leader, you're going to lose both those spots. It's as simple as that. Half spin, you're going to lose both those spots. It's not going to take a lot in this race, that's for certain. Also, the second half of this stint is where the tyres are really going to start going, and it's now 1:30 in the afternoon, so the track temperature will be as highest it's been all throughout this race. So as much as you can take advice from the previous 2 drivers, this is now uncharted territory. Of course, they would have practiced this, as we see a potential move then from Felix down in towards the final chicane, and actually you had to be a little bit wary on entry, but they're still side by side with the 104, and well, overtake reciprocated and dealt with beautifully well, but it's not over. You know that Ford Mustang is going to be lightning in a straight line, but if you're going to get this done, you've got to go all the way around the outside in a part of the track where that car will normally struggle. And there you go. The Lamborghini is just going to completely shift through, leave the door ever so slightly ajar, not quite ajar enough. And well, the move is redone. Brilliant stuff from both teams. The number 104 and the 44 doing a great job and giving us some nice entertainment there. So Visceral Esports by Atatec Sim Sports are making a move, and they've moved up the order on the Arestec Reparto Corsa by Meuma Plast.
Drive Just Boys Sim Magic picking up a penalty there, a stop and go 10 for unsportsmanlike behaviour. Obviously, we've seen a couple of warnings for the likes of unsportsmanlike conduct on the circuit. Not 100% sure as to what it is, but here comes the biggest penalty. And it is for them because they've got 5 licence points. DQ.
We will be seeing you, Drive Just Boys Sim Magic. We will be seeing you off to the Shadow Realm with you.
Damn.
Yep, off we go. That's a big penalty. I've actually never seen that. I don't think I've ever seen that in sim racing, a car being disqualified. I'm trying to think back to if I ever seen that happen. I don't believe I have.
I've seen it a couple of times, but it's super, super rare. Certainly not in SRO Esports. You don't expect to see it in this championship. And the thing is, like I say, you're getting 5. If you're getting 5 incidents, 5 license points in. We've only done 2 hours and 30 minutes of this race. Then you've got to set an example here. And don't get me wrong, like we've all had it where you're kind of alluding to it earlier on, where we've had an incident, right, where you're kind of like looking at it as a driver, being like, that shouldn't be a penalty, and then it is a penalty because race control will give you a penalty, whether you agree with it or not. That's race control's decision. Fair enough. We've all kind of had those kind of scenarios, but because it's all happening live, like you're getting live race control, you're getting the reaction immediately. You kind of know roughly what they're playing with then, and then if you keep making same or similar mistakes, then yeah, obviously you're going to receive a pretty handy penalty, and a DQ is as handy as it gets. Yeah,
to be disqualified, you've got to be caught slipping into the DMs of the race steward's either mother or sister. That's as severe as it will get there. That is a bad one. You've got to do something pretty bad. So don't get caught, lads. Don't get caught. Anyway, moving on to the race at hand here. We've got a potential move for Naudi down towards Kobayashi in the Veloce Academy car. I do like the fact that both Academy cars that we've got on the grid today have both got yellow on them. It makes it very easy for our jobs. So shout out Williams and shout out Veloce. Veloce, that's another nice thing I've said about you. Can we be friends, please? Right, now moving down towards Spoon Curve once again. Are we about to see Naldo potentially take on a move then with De Campo? Not quite going to work out, but I think there might be a run down towards 130. They are very close indeed.
Things that I think I'll never see is Luke Crane having a positive conversation with Veloce. Yeah, I'm surprised
really well,
you've
said
dropped
one naughty thing about Eamon Murphy, and the rest is history. He's one of my friends as well. It's just a joke, but here we are.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, no, I get that. You know, they're wanting to break you and Eamon up. That's fine. He gave you an Irish goodbye. It's fine. He's in 7th position at the moment. Is your good mate Eamon Murphy? I mean, look, you can chuck whatever you want towards Veloce. I've got to say that livery's quite good. I prefer it with the purple though. I think the purple looks much nicer. The grey's quite nice, but the purple.
This is my favourite one. Do you know what? My favourite one of all time was the VCO. Bathurst one where they had just a white with Veloce on the side. That's really nice. Just white with the black Veloce name on the side.
I'm trying to work out if you're being sarcastic.
No, I was genuinely.
Really?
It looked so clean. Yeah, that was really nice.
I hated it.
Oh, fair enough.
It's just not for me. Plain white livery is not. It wasn't plain white, but
but livery game in sim racing is unreal now. Like they have different ones for different events and. Livery. You used to have the team have the same livery for 5 years. Now it's like a different livery for each race. It's really cool. I think, all jokes aside and banter aside, the livery game of just sim racing in general is really good, really cool. Well, it's like the opposite of cool, but cool for us.
Yeah, and it's like you don't typically get a grid full of ugly liveries anymore. There'll still be the odd one or two. Blue or white, black and red. But my goodness, I remember tuning into the Formula Sim Racing World Championship in 2014 when it moved over to rFactor 2 for the first time, and every livery, with the exception of Twister, was black and red, and Twister were white and blue. So it was brilliant. Every livery is just basically the same, and thankfully we're at the point where sim racing livery designs, and to be fair, it's been the case for a fair while now, have decided that colour is a good thing. And we just need to see more of it. So it's why I always like the idea of chucking some Dayglow yellow or some lime green onto the car. Go for some nice, vibrant, big colours. Orange is a great one. Underutilised. Slap it on your car.
Yeah, no, that is a fair point, Mr. McGlade. That was a fair point. Right, we're heading into the last 30 minutes of this race. It's flown by as we, again, are heading into the hottest part of the race so far. This is the battle for 4th position in our silvers. Again, if you just tuned in, we do have a pro category and a silver category. The pros have got white below their name on the timing tower. As we just shift away, I think Naudi was about to make a move as well. I think that was a guaranteed attempt being made there on De Campo. But Huben, we're on board with the leader, 7.7 seconds clear of Harteveld. So Harteveld was slowly closing up, but not so much now. This is a very, as George Morgan would say, a stellar performance from Mercedes AMG Esports Team MSI. They're looking very, very good.
He would, and he chucked Tigerline in there somewhere.
He would.
According to Steve Proudly, broadcast director, said no, there wasn't a move between Naldi and De Campo. That's where we've returned our attention between this fight. Sure, we didn't get a move there. We are getting a move soon, though. There's no way that these two are going to remain single file for the next 31 minutes. There is a move coming from this Ferrari at some point, and it is coming quickly.
I think Steve lied. I think they moved. There was a move, and then they changed positions again. But that's just me.
All right.
Heading in towards Kobayashi and the Academy car. So I don't mind the taking the deep line there, because you get such a better drive, as we're seeing off the corner. A 5-second penalty for car 104 for causing a collision with the car 44. We saw that battle. That's between Lamborghini and, I believe, it was a BMW.
Ford Mustang.
It was, of course, yes. That was the Restec Reparto Corsa by Mayumo Plast. A drive-through penalty for the 104 as well. Okay, cool. It's like London buses. You wait for one for ages, and then you get loads appear at one point. There's 3 license points in one single race as well. That's 3 different cars who've had more than 3 points. We've had one with 4, and one who's been disqualified, and we'll never see them again with 5. Crazy.
It's poor. It's just really poor for those teams. I'm not saying the rest of the team, the rest of the grids rather. I think have actually been relatively to date, considering how elbows out certain things can go. Race control haven't had to step in for too much. Sure, we've had our fair share of penalties, as you'd expect, but like for the most part, most teams kind of one and done. They'll get one penalty and then they'll move on. But for those three teams that have picked up that many license points in again, in the entirety of a 3-hour race, fair enough. But in 2.5 hours, that is poor from teams at this level. But like I say, someone's got to test the waters and see how harsh race control is going to be. And clearly, the answer to that is pretty harsh. And as you alluded to earlier, being okay with that, I'm also okay with that. I'm pretty happy to see race control being pretty strict on stuff.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think the top teams are going to learn a lot from that, as much as the teams who've received the penalty, because they'll be like, oh, well, hold on, can't really do anything too crazy. They know they're going to get penalised quite heavily for it. So, it's going to be an eye-opener for absolutely everybody on this grid. On board with Rodriguez then, who's now clear of Rotters by 1.1 second. Rotters is that 1.1? Yeah, he's just a bit behind there in the McLaren. Rodriguez, remember, the second half of the stint is where Williams tend to be a bit stronger, although it's not quite worked out like that today, if I'm completely honest. But with Rodriguez, maybe that is going to be the case. He is now trying to close up towards Savini, and Savini will start to make moves on Harteveld if he can. This is going to slow them both down, because right now it's 28 minutes to go. If you're not making the moves now, when are you going to make them? So there's all about being patient in a 3-hour race, but at this stage you've got nothing else to lose. Can you gain an extra position and gain some extra points? As it stands, it's going to be a full house for our race leaders. Mercedes AMG Esports Team MSI, they've got 5 points for qualifying P1 in our Super Pole. They're going to get 35 points for indeed winning the race as well. So 40 points will be the lead from them. Scuderia Ferrari, by the way, they actually qualified second, and they will be getting themselves 30 points, so they'll be on 34, so they'll be 6 points behind. And then we've got the Lamborghini Esports team, who actually qualified P3 as well, so they're actually in the order they qualified, and they will be getting themselves here 25 points, so they'll be on 28, so they'll be 12 points off of the lead. So a really good day as it stands for the Mercedes AMG Esports team MSI. I've just done live maths, so please take that with a pinch of salt. That could be very wrong.
My main rule for everyone watching when it comes to commentators' maths is never trust it. Never trust commentators' maths. Unless they've got a very handy spreadsheet that's automatically doing it for them. Just don't do it. It's fine, but I respect the attempt more than anything else. I'm sure it's right, but I'm just not going to trust it. This battle, whilst they started in second and third, they're running in second and third, they are being caught though by Igor Rodriguez in that menacing Williams Esports car. Of course, Mercedes leading the race. Could it be a Mercedes 1-2 at the end of the day as the fight continues on between Visceral and the Williams Esports Academy a little bit further down the order? I think that's towards the back end of the top 10 of the silver category, but still some solid points for it.
Yeah, Taz Varenza Hacker trying to try and overtake McWilliam. This is for 22nd position overall in the race, but by my mathematics, this is for
more of it.
What's this going to be for? 9th, maybe, in the silvers. Not too sure how many silvers are in the top 12, but I think it might be about 9th position. I think it's 2 in the top 12. I think
it's 9th as well.
Yeah. So this is for a genuine points position. The difference between 10th and 9th is 2 points. So if you get 9th, you get 9 points. We see a send down into Kobayashi. And I tell you what, that looked like it was going to be a complete T-bone to the inside there of the Academy car for Williams. But it was very well held there by the Asalith team, by Asatec. So fair play. It looked like it was going to be a little bit too aggressive, but it was well controlled in the end. But it is the Williams car that holds on.
Silver champion as well, Pertile directly behind this as well, seeing more silver drivers going toe-to-toe, but of course the 38 has nothing to gain from these. To bounce back, 19. I agree.
They got a penalty, so they're going to maybe, they're actually probably going to drop one position as it stands. They need to gain 2 more tenths. So, but yeah, they've gained 19 positions in this race, which, yeah, that is not an easy task, because an ATC is very difficult to overtake. Because the Academy car for Williams goes very defensive into the final chicane. He's going to overshoot though, but he will just about hold it on. And Pertile, unfortunately, had to get off. He just had to let off getting the power down, and ultimately he's going to lose out there. We might be about to see a move down in towards turn number 1.
Won't matter though. Drive-through penalty's gone the way of McWilliam. I think there might have been a track limit excursion. Maybe there's a.
Oh, yeah.
I think. So that wouldn't have been a slowdown or anything. I think Tanzania Hacker saw the fact that McWilliam had a drive-through and thought, there's a pro guy behind me. I'm just not going to fight him. Let him go. McWilliams got to come in. I'm already gaining that position. Who cares?
I'm 3 seconds clear of the next car in our battle. I'm going to gain a spot in front of me. Yeah, that's really clever racing as we go right up towards the leaders, then down towards 130R, swinging left and right, trying to force an error then from Harteveld in that Scuderia Ferrari Esports car. As we head down towards the final chicane, decides to not make the move this time around. He's gone for the over and under, and ultimately, I think there's a little nudge there to the Ferrari. The Ferrari was all out of shape, and I'll tell you what, if the Lamborghini did not touch the back of that car, I think they would have had a huge run down towards turn number 1, and I think we might have seen a different P2 in this race. But as it stands, that little nudge has pushed Harteveld just a little bit too far up the road, and ultimately there's no move for that position. But Savini is looking very racy indeed, and look at those pesky Williams. They are right up there now, and again, the fight is for P2. The race win isn't likely to happen, but Williams are always there or thereabouts.
Don't count out the ITB car either, that's currently running in 5th position. It's closing up to this group as well, and it's dragging the 164 of Miato with him as well. So there could be a couple more drivers joining this fight, and we know that McLaren, at least based on what we saw in the previous stint with Pavlovsky defensively, looks pretty quick in a straight line. Could there be any more moves coming in from them? Are they going to settle for 5th position, or is there more to grab? Like you say, Williams Esports there as well. Race victory is almost set and sorted completely with MSI. 24 minutes left to go. They've got 12 laps basically to tick off at the front of the field before they can see the checkered flag as the victors. But for 2nd place, it is very up in the air. I think you're absolutely right. Had there not been contact going through the Casio triangle, Savini probably would have been ahead of Harteveld there, or at least would have had a chance.
You're a tease, McGlade. You are a tease. Rotters, you're right, is absolutely closing in. 3/10 actually gained in the last sector as we head down towards Spoon Curve. And Savini, this is where he has to use all of that experience and not try and do anything drastic, but that Ferrari is struggling. They are losing so much time now to Nicholas Huben, and Savini just got too close there. He almost needs to brake early now and punch out of the corner. Well, I say now, he should be doing that every time, to be honest, anyway. But he's getting too close, unfortunately. And now, look at the pressure from behind. Lovely shots here, by the way. Shout out to Steve Proudly in the background doing all of this work for us as we see a big close in. Oh, God, you don't want to get any closer. They could almost high-five each other as we see the grille there. Not too sure what manufacturer that blue car is. Oh, there we go. There's a massive Mercedes sign. But yeah, these three now battling for 2nd. But you're spot on. Rotters, though, did not have a good last sector. He actually hasn't closed in. But this, very shortly, as we see the proper Mercedes badge, just in case we're wondering what car it is, guys, there it is. Yeah, we might see a potential 4-way battle for the lead of this race, although there's a bit of a mistake there from Rodriguez, and he needs to be careful now. Don't make any mistakes and maybe force the issue from the drivers in front. Still 22 minutes to go, and well, it is anyone's for P2.
Yeah, indeed, it is super tight in all this, and I don't know who the favourite is to take 2nd place. It's so murky between a lot of them. I mean, overtaking, as you've said, you know, GT3 racing here on ACC, here at Suzuka's, you know, it's hard to overtake, but forcing mistakes out of drivers, I mean, it's possible. You're late in the race, tyres are struggling. We've already seen a couple of light mistakes from Harteveld down into the final complex. Yeah, like I say, you are getting tired, you are getting fatigued towards the end of this. You know, even just like the mental concentration that's required to deal with this for an hour is hard enough. You've been watching your teammates as well. You barely stepped away from the rig for the entirety of the race thus far. There's so much to deal with, and the heart rate is rising and rising and rising. I
think Igor Rodriguez might have a little nibble here. He's quite close. Is he going to be able to go up the inside, though, into Spoon Curve, realising actually he might lose a bit too much time on the battle for 2nd. I don't think the battle for 3rd is Rodriguez's goal here. I think he realises there is an opportunity to move up a couple of spots. But on the flip side, you've got to get this done quickly because Rotters is also going to have that very same mindset. I don't know what the flap of the hand there was. You've got to be patient. I think Savini might have just overheated his tyres over the last couple of laps because he just dropped off the back of that Ferrari. He was very close behind, but he might have just pushed a little bit too much here. Rodriguez on the brakes then a little bit later than I thought he might be. Can he punch the exit here? Though he can. This is a very good exit actually indeed. As we come then round that final corner, are we about to see a potential move for a podium spot from the Williams team? Slipstream being used though for the Lamborghini as well. That's going to help him. It's actually going to defend the position a little bit. But can Igor Rodriguez find a gap up the inside? He decides against it. Has that forced the Lamborghini flying through turn 2? It absolutely hasn't. And actually the driver that's slow through there is Harteveld in P2. So it is closing up between these three. You could cover them with a blanket, but look who's lurking just in behind. It's Rotters just in behind, but all of a sudden, look at Miato as well. So Miato here, we might have a five-way battle. Does Eamon Murphy potentially get involved? Will that stint from Luke Whitehead prove to be vital, because he was flying? He did an incredible job for that Veloce team to get them in the hunt here. Are we, with what, 19 minutes 30 seconds to go, about to see a six-way battle for P2?
Well, I mean, theoretically speaking, Eamon Murphy's got the best tyres of this group, because obviously, courtesy of the excellent stints from Boothby and, of course, from White on the previous one, they went longer as well, meaning that the tyres, they haven't been used as much. I think there's probably only 3, 4, 5 laps difference max in this grouping, but still, that kind of stuff really does add up. The thing is, all Igor Rodriguez is trying to do at the moment, he's trying to show Savini that I'm not going to just sit behind you. I am obviously going to go for an overtake. Basically, what that's going to try and do is it's trying to force Savini to get desperate with Hartwell, to go for that look, to go for maybe the low percentage move. Because what that can do is that can open up the door for Igor Rodriguez to pass the pair of them in one swift motion. By putting that pressure on, he's the one controlling the heart rates in this group.
Here we go, down towards 130R. It's very close there between Rodriguez and Savini. We're getting a lovely shot, though, from the front of Rotter's car. Although Rodriguez just loses out ever so slightly down towards then the final chicane. They do indeed come. Savini gets very close to Harteveld. Rodriguez is going to check up, and now who is there to take advantage? It might be Rotters. Miato's closed up as well. And if you look very, very far in the background, well, I say far, 2.9 seconds back, there is a Veloce McLaren looking to try and pounce on this situation as well. This race is by no means over. Got plenty of action coming your way. Savini is very much trying to keep Harteveld honest. Harteveld is struggling here. I think he's gone up too quickly. I will say one thing. I think Rodriguez is trying to force Savini to go defensive into the final sector. 130R down towards that final chicane, or down in towards turn number one. He's forcing him to try and get closer to the apex, take a tighter line and be slow on the exit. That is what Rodriguez is trying to do. But now he's under some severe pressure from two cars in behind. 5 drivers battling for P2. Oh, it's good to be back.
And 5 different manufacturers as well. Ferrari, Lamborghini, Mercedes, McLaren, Aston Martin. Of course, the Mercedes of MSI is way ahead. As you're absolutely right, spot on. Bit of a mistake there. We were riding on board with Rudders, running out a little bit wide. I think it was a couple of little bits. And all that as the look to the outside comes in now from the Lamborghini, going for the switchback in the up and under. But you've got to be so careful with doing that, because Igor Rodriguez was just kind of hovering around the apex. If you go for that up and under whilst there's a car behind you, you couldn't have caused a crash. And it's definitely not the car behind's fault in that occasion. You're cutting back on a fairly unpredictable line in that occasion.
Eamon Murphy's taken 0.6 of a second out of this group as well. So it is going to become, I believe, a 6-car battle for P2. The big winner out there is Nicholas Huben, who's just checked out as it stands. They're about to cut the timing beam then for the final sector of this lap number 81. It's now 13 seconds. They're losing almost a second a lap now to Huben because of the battling going on. And when does patience become desperation? Savini needing to make a move, I think, more just to get the insurance from the cars behind, because he's looking, well, I tell you what, there's a mistake there, and that is going to open the gap then to Harteveld. Harteveld is, well, going to be very thankful for that. And, well, can the Mercedes now close up down towards turn number one? Someone has to make something happen here, because it's a little bit of a stalemate. And look how close that Mercedes is in the rearview mirror, and it's going to happen this time around. Down towards turn number one, the door completely closed here, and the Lamborghini holds on nicely as well. Harteveld, though, can barely get through turn one quickly. That's the second lap in a row. He is in some real, he's in trouble here. I think that Ferrari is in real trouble.
Yeah, indeed. It's not looking great pace-wise. I will say he's got 9 laps to hang on at the moment for second position. If he can do so, that'd be a very impressive defensive drive. But Harteveld is struggling here. The Scuderia Ferrari not looking ideal around the twists and turns of Suzuka. But who's the driver to pass? Yeah, sure, obviously Savini is the one that's in position at the moment to pass, but has been unable to do so. Would Rodriguez be able to fly past? Would Rotas be able to fly past? Is there the opportunity for them to get onto the rear end of the Ferrari as well? There comes the McLaren in the background as well, as Eamon Murphy is closing in. What an end to the 3 hours of Suzuka in the first round of this championship.
Yeah, it certainly is an absolute nail-biter, isn't it? Look at that, 1.8 seconds now. It's under the 2-second margin for Eamon Murphy. And the one positive for me and you, Lewis, is Eamon Murphy, very similarly to Luke Whitehead and very similarly to Jules Boothby, will not need a second invitation to make an overtake. No. So you know that if Eamon is going to join this pack, that's where things might get very interesting indeed. So Miata will know that, Rotters will know that. They may now start to get a little bit desperate to avoid any potential side-by-side action with Murphy. I'm not trying to say Murphy's dirty by any stretch. I'm just saying he will make something happen. He has got the experience that a lot of these drivers ahead of him just do not have.
I would describe Murphy as a touring car driver, even though he's not a touring car driver, but he's in that vein of being a touring car driver.
Calculated aggression.
Yeah, he's pretty comfortable with getting his elbows out. No worries, lads. And like I say, if you're absolutely right, he won't be like, oh, I'll go for a move a couple of corners later. I'll play this card a little bit more patient. Like, no, if there's an opportunity, he's going straight for it at the first sign of it. He is. That's
what you need
in that.
In this scenario, Lewis. There are obvious overtaking opportunities around here, but when you've done 82 laps, they're on the 83rd lap now. Each and every one of these drivers knows exactly where to defend. So you have to catch them out now. You've got to do something they do not expect. You've got to do something that they cannot defend, or they will not be thinking quickly enough to be able to defend that position. So now that's when it becomes very, very difficult indeed. And that's where, the likes of Murphy, and I'll probably throw Rodriguez in there as well, that's where their experience really is going to come into fruition.
You're 100% right. The worst thing that you can kind of do is be that kind of 50-50, or maybe I should go for the move, maybe I shouldn't, look for those opportunities. If you're committed, as Murphy is, if you just go look for it and go, you can pick up a handy amount of positions here, and it would cap off what's been a very impressive opening round for the McLaren Veloce team. Of course, the champions of a couple of years in the past now. They would like to see the crown return back to them after Williams stole it last year with an excellent performance over the team that's leading, MSI. Obviously, I think it was the Unicorns of Love last year, but it is
no secret.
It is
now
MSI
partnered with Ren Welton.
Yeah.
So it moves across Mercedes, Ren Welton, of course, and MSI all partnering together, which is a beautiful relationship. And this seems to be working. Well, this is the best way of proving it's working. They are currently winning, and maybe one of the strongest fields ever in ACC. Is certainly one of the most prestigious championships that's on this sim currently. As we head down towards then the Casio Triangle, as you've quite rightly pointed out earlier on. I like to call it the final chicane because I'm old. Oh no! Oh, he's dropped on his own. Completely dropped down on his own. I'm not sure if there was any contact from behind. I think he might have just dropped down his own. We'll have to see that again. I think he might have got too close to Harterveld. But I'm sure we'll get a replay of that anyway. But they all were very, very close. And I'll tell you what, someone just said in the chat, this is going to end in heartbreak for someone in the pack. DC Storm Games, well spotted. It has done. And it's ended badly there for what would be Lamborghini Esports. Not good.
Well, here comes Eamon Murphy. He's already passed Miata after the mistake there at T1, went in too deep. And Reuters is obviously feeling the pressure here from Eamon Murphy. The battle for fourth position. If I were a betting man, 100% there was contact between Igor Rodriguez and Savini. I didn't. Again, I saw the same angle as you, but I've never seen a GT3 spin there like that. I know he hit the curb fairly hard.
Yeah, I thought he bounced over the curb. That's what I was thinking.
But he's hit it so many times. He's been hitting that first one so hard as Savini. So I'd be surprised if that is what's caused it. I am pretty sure that there must be contact. Could be completely wrong.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time I was wrong, that's for sure.
But my gut instinct is that there must have been contact there. But again, that's one for race control to look at. Like I said, they would never get into the end of the race without drama, let's put it that way.
And if there was contact, you'd like to... Here we go. We're actually about to see this here as we come through.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's light.
It didn't look like there was contact when the car started to spin, and then it kind of got helped around. I wonder if we could see that again. I don't know if they've got that queued up to see that again. But I don't think there was actually contact. And the car had started to go already, and then the second contact kind of compounded it. Maybe I just saw that completely differently to everybody else there. But if there was contact initially, then that will be investigated. Of course, Rodriguez would receive a penalty, and that just promotes Rotters and Murphy up the order.
Well, obviously, when it comes to racing online as well, you can't just give the exact room of you and the car. You've got to give a little bit more, because regardless of the simulator you're on, there will be netcode involved in that fight as well. So you got to kind of give that gap and then a little bit more in that. And I kind of feel like that might have been that, like that extra 5 mil or whatever might have been enough just to tip that car around. Exactly. It's tiny margins, but that's the margins that you're playing with at this level.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, it definitely looked like netcode contact, but I'm just saying, I'm looking at it from a steward's perspective. Can you penalise someone for a netcode contact? You can't really, right? I just don't, if you've not physically touched them in a replay, what have you actually done wrong? So, yeah, I'm just looking at it from a steward's perspective. We've got the chat here, all the stewards in the chat. Good to see you getting involved. They've all woken up. They're like, oh, my God, there's action. Oh, the commentator's wrong. We'll call him out. Lovely old job. Here we go. We get to see it again. Yeah, that's netcode, isn't it? I'm not sure that can be. I'm not sure it actually can be penalised. I think the Lamborghini Esports team are going to be super pissed, and they've got every right to be. But yeah, I'm not sure that really can be penalised.
So I'm going to say, right, I think that had there not have been that, because there was no doubt there was a gap between them when the contact, in air quotes, was made, right? We all saw that. But I will say, I think there would have been contact anyway, because I do think that Igor Rodriguez was too quick at that point compared to the Lamborghini. So I think there probably would have been contact anyway. That said, can you penalise on a probably? That's not for me to decide. That's for the stewards to decide.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, I don't have to worry about it. So it's fine.
Okay, fine then. You say no. I think yes. I think it is a penalty.
I don't need to give an answer, mate. I just commentate. I'm not a steward. So stewards, that is your job.
Yeah, I was going to say either way, that's up to them. This is I feel so bad for stewards sometimes, because dealing with that. The thing is, whichever decision they go for, someone's unhappy.
Yeah, of course.
And that's just that is what it is. I think it's a penalty, but it's kind of hard to penalise something based on what kind of was going to happen. Had that, yeah, go on. It's not.
I just love the experts in chat. Always cracks me up.
I like the
when you watch them race, you're like, okay, yeah, you've not sure you're the best people to judge these situations, but yeah, no, it's. Yeah, we'll find out. That's the steward's decision, not ours. Huben leads the way. We've just stepped away from the leader, but now they lead by quite the considerable margin. Harteveld is in second position, and then we've got Rodriguez in third spot. So, yeah, 15.9 seconds is the advantage. All of the hustle and bustle in behind has ultimately given the race leaders a fair lead in this race. Rodriguez then is in third spot. Rotters is in fourth. Eamon Murphy now in fifth position. But, the likes of Rotters and Murphy, they'll be hoping that Rodriguez does receive a penalty, of course, right? They will gain a position. And that would be some drive from, I think Rotters, they would have been expecting, the ITB team would have been expecting a podium considering how the start of their race went. But for Eamon Murphy and, for Boothby and for Whitehead, they have, I wouldn't say lucked out. I think Luke Whitehead's stint will be one of those that we look back on and go, that was a special stint as well, because it was very quick. He closed the gap and he actually put them in contention for a podium. I'm not sure they're going to quite get it unless he can make an overtake on Rotters, but that Whitehead stint has put them in really good stead this race. A fair play.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, both Boothby's first stint, Whitehead's second stint was just incredible. Yeah. But Eamon Murphy's done a really good job to just kind of keep powering up. Like you say, maybe there's not going to be a podium up for grabs, but the fact that they're even inside the top five and that there might even be a little bit more. Shout out to Miato as well, right? Who's obviously just stuck with Murphy throughout the stint to close that gap back up as well. So for the 164, there's also been some solid plaudits to be chucked their way. A lot of positive vibes to be chucked around, but just 5 laps left to go. Correction, 4 laps left to go. I can do math, don't worry.
Yeah, it looks like 16 seconds. They'd have to lose 4 seconds a lap. So Huben is golden to go out there and win. But who is going to get onto the final podium position? Say Rodriguez. I would imagine it's under investigation for an incident. As it stands, though, Williams Esports will have that final podium spot. Harteveld, currently in second, will have the second position, of course. Then Rotters and Murphy. Can these two figure it out between them to put themselves in the best position to take advantage of any potential penalties that get sent out? Yeah,
I do kind of feel that either the race control that they don't want to rush the penalty, so I can actually see this being a post-race penalty, because it's going to be a time penalty anyway, right? So if he gets a 5-second time penalty now, it'll be dealt with.
He wouldn't be able to serve the pitch, you're right.
So it's fine for them to actually deal with this one post-race, right? As much as it's not ideal because we want it all set and sorted, it actually won't make difference whether it's dealt with post-race or during the race, because it will still be the same penalty regardless. So they're not going to rush it. Maybe it'll be post-race. We'll have to wait and see. One fact which should be noted with Igor Rodriguez, and it is a good point when it comes to netcode and stuff, he is racing from Brazil, right? At least as far as I'm aware, he is a Brazilian. I'm pretty sure he still lives in Brazil. So obviously, when you're racing from the other side of the planet, in a sense, you've got to think about that extra little bit of netcode. Whether you're, that's bringing it in from a steward's point of view or a driving point of view. You've kind of got to accept that it's not the same as like two people from Europe going side by side. There's a little bit more at play.
Well, you can see the latency bar next to their name, and Rodriguez is like that will be from the highest ping in the team, by the way. So it's not a case of that's his actual ping. It's the highest ping in the team, which would be him anyway. So you can see it's like it's what 3/4 of the bar. You got Fadley Ratchmat down the back end, the P21, and it's red. So that's do you see a red bar next to their name? Just give them a little bit of a wide berth.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've had my fair share of racing with South Americans. Those from Australia. I used to be teammates with Reese Gardner, Southpaw racer, many a time, and boy, did I have to stay away from him. That Australia ping, it's tough to race with. It is tough to race with. But that's all these drivers that they've all got used to driving with higher pings and stuff, or racing against drivers with higher ping. There is you race them differently. You have to race them differently. You can't race them in the same way that you would do someone also from Europe, because it's a different style of racing required.
Yeah, 100%. We've got Ricky Ma, who's in dubbing chat for the Italians in here and in the race. Good to see you. Welcome. Buongiorno. It's what they would say if you're Brad Pitt in a certain film. But yeah, 3 minutes, 20 odd seconds to go. My voice is just about going to make it through, I think. It's been struggling for a while. I have drank plenty of liquids. I can assure you of that during this one. But yeah, it's just about going to make it, I think. Just like Nicholas Huben. He's not just about going to make it, but will cross the line in as a winner for the first round of the championship. Instant between 164 and 7 on lap 84. Oh, okie dokie. So that is a penalty for car number 7. So that is going to be for ITB Racing. So they're going to get a 5-second time penalty. So that would that be on lap 84? So it's a penalty from earlier, but given on lap 84.
We didn't see it. That was so when Igor Rodriguez and that lot, they'd all had their moment. We were kind of watching what was happening there.
Yes.
There was some side-by-side headness. Miato was up to 4th position and then dropped back to 6th. We didn't 100% see as to why. We did see Miato off the road, though, which explains because, again, 7, 164. So it was between Rosses and Miato. Oh, my voice is going now. I'm so excited about the end of this race, though.
It's infectious. It's infectious. We've got to stop kissing before a broadcast.
I was going to say, this comms booth is getting very heated.
Yeah, it certainly is. Again, it's not as close as it was previous to this last couple of laps, but it is still very, very close. And there we go. So Rotters has received that penalty. And with Williams probably under investigation, this might be the most unlikely Veloce podium ever, considering how their first stint went. So fair play to them. But they've also got Miato, who will be looking at this thinking there is an opportunity for me to indeed grab a position myself. And, well, I think we are... So that's car number 204, which is a bit further back, isn't it? And 256. That's a penalty for 256 there. That is low fuel motorsports. So they got themselves a 5-second penalty, but they're a bit further down the order.
Certainly are, but there was a bit of a look there from the 164 of the Restec Quarto Corsa team, and there we go, another one chuckered next. So that's a 4th one that we've seen, a 4th team that have breached the 3 licence points and have got themselves a drive-through penalty.
They're coming through the pits, not because they've got low fuel for low fuel motorsports, because they've been naughty.
Naughty fuel motorsports. Now, there's a quiet naughty boy motorsports. MBM. Penultimate lap of the race about to come to a close, though, and it's nearly 20 seconds, and they've got absolutely no idea the level of drama that's happened behind them.
No, and they won't care one bit. The Mercedes-AMG Esports Team MSI, their debut within this championship, their debut with the connections they've had with Unicorns of Love, obviously moving over to Renwelton, and of course MSI joining and getting on board. And what a way to kick things off. Merely a lap to go then for Nicholas Huben, who is at the wheel. Tobias Pfeffer qualified on pole for the team with the Super Pole. It was Tobias Grunewald who took them away for stint number 1. Then it was Pfeffer who, again, another special stint to give him a nice, healthy 7.5 second advantage. and then it was Nicholas Huben, who's now got to deal with a little cluster of cars. Through the S's, though, for the very final time. I wonder if we can get a little on board for the final lap here, just to see if there's any nerves slightly creeping in. Again, still heading through the S's, now switching up to this very long-winded left-hander, so easy to run out into the gravel through there. Just a little let off the gas, now heading down towards those Degner curves for the very final time. Got to use all of the curb through here, still being very aggressive. Again, such minimal inputs there, such smooth inputs, such concentration on this young man's face. Now we head down towards the Kobayashi curve, the hairpin. And then it is just a sector and a bit left to go, hugging that inside line, just getting the power down, almost over rotating, but of course that is the best way of dealing with that corner with this car, specifically on this sim. Now running down towards Spoon Curve for the very final time, and barring any hiccups, it will be a race victory. Just 4 more corners to go, exiting Spoon Curve, catching up to the back marked traffic, but should not be an issue. Now starting the long run past the old pit lane. Is he going to run in there? No, not going to do that. Imagine that if he did that for a bit of fun at the end. Down then towards 130R for the very final time, and then into the Casio Triangle. So merely 2 corners to negotiate to become the first winners of the Intercontinental GT Challenge Esports 2024 season. And now it is the final corner. Oh, 1 more car to deal with there, whereas a little bit worried. But there's the fist pump for Nicholas Huben, who will become a race winner with his teammates Tobias Grunewald and Tobias Pfeffer in the Mercedes-AMG Esports Team MSI car. Congratulations to them as we see a hellacious full battle. This is for P2. Igor Rodriguez has got a 10-second penalty. So right now, I think Eamon Murphy's going to get that final podium spot. So Veloce are going to get it, although Miato does give everything to try and gain that position. It's not quite going to be enough. But yeah, once it's all figured out here, it's going to be second for the Scuderia Ferrari Esports team. It's going to be third for the Veloce Esports team. And as we go a little bit further back than the CPT Pro, we are going to have the number 138. I don't think they're going to gain any positions because of the penalties, but they don't need to because they've just won the silver race here. In second spot, it's going to be Porco in the Lamborghini in number 6 there. And then we will have Goppelt, who finishes in P3. Lewis, help me out, my voice is going, but what a way to kick off the Intercontinental GT Challenge Esports Series 2024.
Yeah, spotted the penalty come in there whilst you started talking about that last lap there. Very impressive for the race stewards to jump that one out. Igor Rodriguez does receive a time penalty. That was contact between himself, of course, and the Lamborghini. Bit of a shame for Williams, but that'll drop them off the podium. It will give that unlikely podium, as you were alluding to the Veloce team. So the Veloce McLaren will move its way up into P1. Fair play from all 3 of their drivers, but an excellent final stint from Eamon Murphy to have grabbed that final spot on the podium for the Veloce team.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's got to be, of course, George Boothby did a really good job in the first stint, but specifically Luke Whitehead, that was an outstanding second stint, and he gave them the chance. And Eamon Murphy has gone out there and grabbed that podium, of course, due to other people's misfortune and penalties. But ultimately, you've got to be there to have that opportunity, and they absolutely took advantage. So here is the race start then, and well, it was a lights to flag win for the Mercedes-AMG Esports team MSI. They did not look back from this point onwards. I think, due to pit stops, there was every now and again there was an opportunity where they weren't leading, but for the most part, they did lead out. This was Elvin Smith, who was the meat in a big old sandwich. The 2 Ferraris then running down towards 130R. And, well, neither of them decided to pull out here. Again, I said it earlier on, the fastest formation lap you're ever likely to see, 2x2 for both of those rows of cars. But this was in the race. Door banging to come back on track. And as we come then through towards the Casio Triangle, just overextended there, a bit too much contact. That then forced Elvin Smith wide because of the initial contact. It was 3 wide. It was a sandwich. And while the Asalith car by Atatec just slightly contacted the Brabham Esports car, and, well, that was the end of their race. And, well, this is the CRT team who managed to win the silver class, battling with big dogs, BS plus competition. And, well, this was the story of their day. They were just pulling out moves and pulling off a performance that really warranted the win. They haven't looked back very similarly to our race the winners in the Pro Series. They didn't look back. They were brilliant. Now we're about to see a really nice Firefly team, the number 76 battling with Jonathan Seville, and this one just kept going and going. You see, at one point they're going to have too much contact. They're both going to end up facing the wrong way and both be crying into their beers this evening. But it was brilliantly done by both of them, and ultimately the Firefly team got the move done in the end. This was the move near the end between ITB and Ferrari. They got close, they got to each other, and while the Lamborghini Esports team tried to get involved as well, it was just absolute carnage. This is the Lamborghini Esports to move up into the business a little bit in with our as you can see, team was pretty close to the bound come through the first couple of corners. The ITB team to hang on to that second spot. This was a little bit of interesting contact there. Which let 258, I think, 253 come through the Porsche, the number 44 there of the East Black Tech Sim Sports holding on firm. And then with the battle between the liveries, we had the car number 28, which is the ST Racing Esports, and we had, of course, Ren Weldon battling for position on in the race, and that was a very nice battle between them. As we see another battle between the Academy car for Vape and the BS competition car, the BMW, just up ahead. And then we have two sole Porsche on the grid, again battling with each other. And as we see here, the Veloce car trying to take full advantage of that situation as well, and did, and became the meat in the Porsche sandwich. Ironically, the two porkers being the bread and not the meat in the middle. Now we head down towards turn number one. It's another BS Plus competition car getting involved. They're trying to find a gap up the inside. Didn't quite work out. This actually ended up with them receiving a penalty, which kind of rendered their chances of a really good finish as useless. And that was the end of their charge. And now, as we look a bit further back, then this was the battle for P2. This is Pavlovsky still in the car, in the ITB car. You've got the Scuderia Ferrari Esports team trying to make a move there on the Lamborghini team. And these two battled throughout this race, and each and every single one of them was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And they just kept doing awesome stuff. So we're going to move away from the replays by the looks of things, and we're actually going to start talking to some of our race winners. So it looks like we are going to talk to our pro winners first and foremost. Not too sure who's going to drop in first. We're actually going to talk to the driver that finished the race first then. So let's have a chat with Nicholas Huben. Huben, the boys did good. They gave you the best possible position to go out there and win the race, and you duly did do so. So first of all, congratulations, and yeah, you must be feeling pretty good about that performance.
Yeah, thank you first of all. Yeah, I'm feeling great. The boys did a great job. So yesterday with the quality was insane. Today as well, both of them did an astonishing race. I just had to bring the car home. Just playing the safe game, not getting any cuts. Remember the famous double cut in Degner. And yeah, it was just smooth sailing in the end, and was actually getting so comfortable that it was actually fast. So yeah, the gap grew and grew, and it was basically a perfect day and a perfect weekend.
Now I'll jump to a question for Tobias Pfeffer, who I messaged you a little bit before the round, and I said, how do you think this round was going to go? You said I would say P1 in the end would be pretty solid, and well, it was spot on effort. What do you make of that race? What an excellent way to start a championship after finishing runner-up last season.
I mean, it's incredible. Also, first time driving under MSI. Yeah, it's great to start into the season like that. And yeah, I wasn't expecting actually P1 because the other drivers are also quite fast. So yeah, I just hoped we're gonna get it. So I'm really, really happy we managed to get P1 actually.
Nice work. And to the other Tobias, of course, Pfeffer gave you the car in pole position from the Super Pole, so already with the 5-point advantage. What were the biggest struggles for you in that first stint? Obviously, you did a very good job bringing the car into the pits from P1, but were there any troubles that you had to deal with in terms of the cars behind you?
Yeah, I mean, the qualifying yesterday was definitely a big plus for this result today. So, yeah, it made my life much easier in the first stint, even though I had 4 very quick cars behind me. So I knew we had good top speed. I mean, Suzuka is probably one of the only tracks the Mercedes is good in straight line speed. So I knew as long as I keep it on the road and don't do anything completely stupid, I would come out ahead. So yeah, that's what I did. So did very little mistakes, and yeah, keep the others behind so that Pfeffer was able to build the gap and Niklas could cruise home.
Well, good job, lads. Go out there and enjoy your beers this evening, and we'll see you at the second round in in Spa. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks.
They are always a good interview, which is fantastic to indeed hear. Right now, we're going to hear from the winners of our silver class. That is the CRT.Pro team. Let's first of all then talk to Pavel Gunin with an incredible first stint. Didn't really look like you were under any real pressure during that, but I can assure you, well, I know you were. How were you feeling during that first hour, Pavel?
Oh, hello, thank you. I don't speak English well, but sorry. Thank you all for your support. Race is very hard. My team is best team in the world. Leonid Makovkin, Kirill Kalashnikov, it's my good friend. We good driver. Congratulations, my team. Thank you.
I respect the attempt of speaking. He can speak English better than you can, Luke. I'll head to Leonid Makovkin, though. Well, obviously, you did the middle stint of the race, dragged the car into contention for the victory. It was all very tight in that middle stint, wasn't it? Where you had a lot of cars around you. How tough was that to deal with through the middle?
That was very hard stint. Thank you that you let me talk. I mean, sorry, I'm bad in English too. The second stint was very hard. I feel every second of the my stint, I feel very big pressure, and it was very hard to keep my race pace stable. So it was very scary actually, because this is my first SRO, like in silver. So.
Well done, mate. So we'll talk to Kirill Kalashnikov now, who did the final stint there. And again, we do appreciate, guys. I know English isn't your first language, so thank you for indeed giving us your time. First of all, again, congratulations, Kirill. Really good performance from the team. What are you guys going to have to do, though, to go out there and do the same at Spa? 24 hours of Spa. Can you go out there and get 2 wins from 2?
Hello all, thank you. Yeah, about 2022 year, that's a bad race was, and now we back to win.
Well done, mate. Congratulations, bud. And we'll see you at the 24 hours of Spa. Congratulations, guys. So there are your winners there from CRP.Pro.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
Thank.
Lovely.
There we go, guys.
I think there's a few teams that will be looking pretty sorry leaving Suzuka. A lot of penalties that got dished out by race control, but some very solid performances. Excellent stuff from our race winners, of course. MSI will be trying to back that one up straight away. Shout out to CRT. Not speaking English very well and still coming for an interview. That takes a lot. I respect. It takes a bit of courage to still just come in, have a little chat with us. Again, excellent victory from them. I don't know if we'll see the same at Spa. I think it's going to be a very, very different style of race and hopefully less penalties.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you to everybody behind the scenes working on this project. Thank you to Lewis, of course, with the co-commentary. That is the first round of the Intercontinental GT World Challenge Esports 2024. And the day belongs to our pro winners, Mercedes-AMG Esports Team, MSI, and CRT.Pro for the silvers. We'll see you on the 22nd of June for 24 hours of Spa. See you next time.